begun. Co-author of a movement, not-for-profits game, teaching kids that self-belief can ease the pain. Every child deserves to face their fears with measured thinking, not just tears. She's planting seeds of strength in every mind. Paulette Harlem, leaving no child behind. When the storm clouds gather and you don't know what to do, take a deep breath, clear your mind, let the answer come to you. Walter's gonna be there in your present and your future too. So just stop and ask yourself, what would Walter do? What would Walter do?
Hello.
What Walter do? What Walter?
Yes.
Is it stopped? Sorry, I was enjoying myself.
Yeah, having too much fun, you know.
I was
Again,
having far too much fun.
on a hot day in the UK, a sunny day. You know what,
Look
Paulette?
at the colour of me. I look like I've been to the Costa del Old Western.
Yeah,
I'm sitting outside, and
Why?
I had a really
Paulette,
not for long. I had a good hour.
I don't understand.
Hour and a bit.
Paulette, why can't they see me? Why is my vision? Why is my man? I'm sorry.
You have disappeared, and oh, there you are. You're back again. A shape.
Yes, I am.
You are a shape. You need some light.
Let me
sir.
show you. No, I got my window open.
He's gone. He's gone.
No, see,
there he is.
I am here. Okay,
Can
so
we play now you see me, now you don't?
I'll use my normal camera for this, and then I'll use my audio for for the microphone.
Okay.
Right. I don't think this one's got as many settings as StreamYard has. I'm trying to make the contrast look better, but I can't. So there's nothing I can do about it on here. Anyway, how are you enjoying the day?
Well, I was all right until I fell off the loo a minute ago, but yeah, it's too much information. There's TMI. TMI.
Yes.
The cleaner hadn't screwed it on properly. So, hey! I did one of them.
I shouldn't laugh, really. You know.
I did afterward, and not initially.
Yeah.
I said some bad words.
Yeah, some swear words. As you do.
I'm laughing. I just said to Charles, I'll just add some body lotion on that bit as well, shall I? I was rubbing some lotion in, and I was like, I don't think there's any point rubbing in all these bruises. I don't know if you can see them on camera. You probably can't see them.
No, we can't. Thank goodness.
That's a shame, isn't it? Because there's some whoppers. Oh, yeah. If I go around that way, you can start to see them. There you go. Look, he's starting.
He's fine. He's fine.
But listen, this one's a good one.
This one's a good one, you say.
Yeah, this one's going to be a good one, that one.
Going to show us a bruises.
I smacked my chin as well. But anyway, we're not here to discuss my bruises or my injuries.
Your misfortune.
My misfortunes. I shall claim off my insurance or just deduct it out of the wages of cleaner. But not really. I mean, listen, accidents happen and that's life, right? But I did go down bang. But anyway, it's a lovely day. Happy sunny Monday to us. I hope it's sunny where you are too. I think most people are getting it in the UK. I don't know. I mean, obviously, places like Cali and LA and all that, it's always blooming lovely.
But they're doing their Memorial Day, so they're having serious holiday.
Yeah, serious holiday, big barbecues and getting drunk. I know what that is. I've been reading about it.
That's not what I mean. I mean the sentiments, the thanking the veterans and those.
No, that is 100% the thing you do. Then you go and get the barbecue on and the beers.
Okay,
but it's what I'm told. I may have been mistaken, but that's what I'm told. It's a day for celebration, so people get together. So today is an interesting conversation, guys, and I'm hoping for lots of people to come up on stage, because one woman's opinion and one man's opinion is a good opinion. my personal stakes on this, but I think that there's so much more to be said. So I've written some stuff down that might be a little bit controversial. I'm going to start off by saying that. It's done with intent. I've gone down the route of, I don't know what I'm doing with this, sorry, hot hair. I'm going to just apologize in advance if I offend anyone, because some people will take offense. If
To
you're going to
everything.
take, let me just
Everything.
explain why. Let me explain why. You'll
Yeah.
take offense because you'll be like, that's not women, that's not what we do, we don't do that. And I'm not saying you do, but I'm saying if a woman did, okay, try and look at it from that stance. It's not that I'm saying 99.9% of women do this. I'm saying that if women were to do this, blah. All right? Don't come for me. I don't want any aggro, right? It's too hot for aggro. And if I jump out of line too much, stop me, because I don't want any fights, okay?
You can't jump out of line, because it's a serious conversation.
I mean, it is. It really is.
It's a real thing, right? No, it's a
It
thing.
really, really is. And I mean, it's so here's the, I've got to go glasses off, as you might expect. You know how it is with me. Glasses on, glasses off. So they're going to hang around there for a bit. Okay, right, fine. So I want to say every day there is a contradiction, okay? Every day there's a contradiction. And women face that contradiction because they never really know where they stand. That's the real truth of it, okay? So, for example, we say to people, be confident, but not intimidating. We say, dress attractively, but don't invite attention. Be independent, but don't make a man feel unnecessary. Want equality, but still appreciate chivalry. Be social, but stay safe. Go out alone confidently, but never forget there's always risks. The public judgment of women, you can then move into like how we are constantly, and I say this, you know, without wanting to start a fight so early on in the show, but you can think about women are constantly interpreted differently. So, a woman alone in a restaurant, is she lonely? Was she stood up? Is she looking for independence? Is she unsafe? A man alone in a restaurant, he's just having his dinner. That contrast is a great starter. It's powerful because it's so simple and relatable. You can talk about how women are judged, and I would say this: you're judged by what you wear, you're judged by how friendly you are, you're judged by how assertive you are, by whether they drink or not, by whether they post online, by whether they have a sort of stop at home attitude. So if you're a stop at homer, and no matter what choice is made, you will take criticism for it. Then there's the sort of safety and the mental load attitude that I've written down. I've got a bit wordy here, but what I was trying to get out of this is where you talk about women having to calculate risks automatically. Text friends when they get home, or parents if they're still living at home. Make sure you've always got enough taxi fare if you need to get an Uber or a taxi. Watch your drinks if you're out socially in a club, in case they're getting spiked. Avoid walking alone. Pretend to be on the phone if somebody walks towards you. If you can, try and buddy up so that there's always two of you going somewhere together, never getting left down to the one of you, because I think that distinction matters. You know, we buddy up to go to the loos. You always go to the toilets in twos. I think we should do the same thing when we're going home from a club or we're going home from wherever we've been, because I just think there comes a point where we have to put our safety first. I'm going on to talk about relationships now, and I know this is going to rattle cages, but you know, hang on in there. Relationships in 2026, it's kind of nuanced because you're raising questions all the time about whether or not people genuinely know the answer anymore. Do you know the answer to what a relationship is? And what I mean by that is, if a man pays, is that kindness or sexism? If a woman insists on splitting the bill, is that her showing empowerment or emotional distance? Is chivalry respectful or outdated? Do women want protection or equality? Or both? Can men still lead without being criticised? Can women still receive without feeling dependent? They're simple questions, but I hope they're making you all think. I want you to acknowledge that when you complete one of those statements, I want you to think about your intelligence, your ideology, your thought processes, and why you think the way you think. Okay? And this conversation happening in probably Western world is slightly different to other countries. But I think if we take our countries at the moment, I would say those are not simple questions that you can answer just like that. There's always complexities, right? So I always look for the middle ground. I always think, well, you can always say, well, you get this one, I'll get the next one. That implies there's going to be another date. Or if you're going out with a girlfriend, you wouldn't hesitate to split the bill. So why does it change when you're going out with a guy? If it's a relationship and you want to start doing the your turn, my turn, is that such a bad thing to show that you're on equal footing? Or if the man wants to pay and the man wants to insist on paying, is that a domineering type of attitude? And is he right or wrong? And are we going to judge him when actually he was trying to do a nice thing? You might say something like this, for example, we created a new freedom, but we never fully replaced the old social rules. So now men and women are often trying to connect while second guessing every interaction, right? So, for example, if you are, I've got friends who have a book and they have been married for 35 years. For 35 years, they've got a book. Their book's an A5 book. Everything she spends, she writes down. Everything he spends, he writes down in his book. At the end of the month, they look at what he spent, look at what she spent, and whoever spent the difference pays the other one the difference. Now, that's their way. Doesn't make it right, doesn't make it wrong. That was because one was an accountant and a very, very clear being counter thinker, and the other one was a marketeer, and probably I would have said maybe less challenging, as in he wouldn't argue with her. If that's what she wanted to do, that was fine by him. So when they just lived together, that's what they did, and they carried on doing it the whole of their marriage, and they still do it to this day. And when they're going to have a holiday, if it's £4,000 or £5,000, they each come up with their half of the holiday. I don't know, just throwing it out there as an idea. These freedoms, we talk about a long time ago, the suffragettes fought for us to have the vote. Controversial coming up. So we wanted the vote, we wanted to have that equality. At that point in time, most women were working from home, as in they were housewives working from home, not physically doing a job as well. Their job was they worked from home. They were the housewife, the housekeeper, they kept children, they looked after everything to the house, right? When we got the vote, and then women started to work in the munitions factories and all of the rest of it, we know the history, how it happened. The argument was that women suddenly became, you've got a job now. But don't forget, you've still got to run the home and the house and everything else that goes with it. So now you've got how many jobs? And is that fair? And is that what the suffragettes were shouting for? Because is that equality? What kind of equality is that? Where you've just added to the plate. Just saying, just throwing it out there. Not every family will this apply to, but these are the realities of life, okay? So if we never change the social norms and the social rules, how are men and women supposed to know what they should or shouldn't be doing? It's a little bit like when people say, you're in the dark and you're just trying to find something and you can't. I feel like that's what relationships are like now. I feel like we're sitting here going, well, I don't really know what to do. Do you? No, not really. The last one was very keen on me paying half. This new one doesn't want to. But, everybody has a situation going on that is different. I went out for dinner with a stockbroker years ago, and he took me to a very posh restaurant, and he insisted on ordering for me. And I said, I'm more than capable of ordering for myself. And he said, no, let me do it. I know this place. I come here a lot. I know what to order you. Well, he ordered, the starter was fish. I don't really eat much fish. And this is long before I was poorly. But I never really ate any fish. Shellfish I was always allergic to, as I was aware. Shellfish being prawn, that kind of thing. But I ended up having an anaphylactic reaction to crab, not on that day, a different one. But the point I'm making was I didn't fancy it. I didn't like look a bit like a fishy soup thing. Nah, didn't fancy that. And then the main course came, and I could have ordered a sea bass or something like it's a fish restaurant. I would have eaten a lemon stover sole type of thing, or I could have eaten a tuna steak. But no, I had to have some weird roarish thing going on. And all I could think of is, what the heck is that, right? And the what the heck is that means, I don't know what it is. I don't want it. I want it to go away, and I'm not going to eat it. And so he said, "You're not going to eat anything." So I said, "Well, I don't like what you ordered." Anyway, the lady came round. She had one of these like old-fashioned pushy trolleys, like you have in the old shops and the old restaurants used to have. And it was still quite a quaint little place in London. And so he said that she came round the corner and she recognised me. I've been in there a few weeks before with some clients, and I tipped her well because she's been a great waitress. And I said to her, "Oh, hello, how are you?" She said, "Oh, I'm fine." She said, "I'm not on the door today." She said, because she goes to a really nice table. I said, "Oh no." She said, "No." She said, I'm on the sweet trolley." So I said, "Well, you came to the right place." I said, "Let me have a little look here." I said, "I'll have a bit of that, spoon of that, and some of that." So, like 3 small desserts, but on 1 plate, which is what you're allowed to do. And this guy says, "I was always taught if you didn't eat your dinner, you can't have a pudding." Well, he didn't wear the fish because they'd already taken it away. But I looked at him and I thought, how much do I want this pavlova? And I decided I wanted it. So I said, "I tell you what, you pay for the dinner and I'll pay for my dessert. How's that?" And he was like, "So this is not going to be another date, is it?" I was like, "Nah, there'll be no second date here, pal." He irritated me. He acted in a pompous, arrogant manner. He was full of himself because he was a regular. But as I said, I've been there a few weeks before as well. And the waitress recognised me, which really made steam come out of his ears. And I can honestly say that it was one of the worst dates ever. And I went to get in a taxi, I called a taxi as I got out, hailed a black cab to go to the station. And he said, "Oh, should we share?" So I said, "I don't share." Got in the car and left. But that's an example of somebody who is trying to put themselves in a position of prominence, dominance. And I was a managing director of a company. I wasn't stupid. And that stockbroker arrogance made him sound like a complete something. And all I could think of was, get me the hell out of here as soon as possible. And the guy that set us up, I was going to really give it to him the next day. He was going to really suffer. It was one of his mates. He thought we were really well suited. I don't think so. Isolation, despite connection, is something that's really playing on my mind at the moment. And I tell you why it's playing on my mind. Because a lot of women today are supposedly more connected than ever through social media. So they are using dating apps, they are using social media for everything, they purchase everything online, their constant communication is online, they're on, friends are on whatever, Facebook or whatever else is the current new thing. They're actually very isolated. It's a profound isolation, really. And it is self-inflicted to a large degree. But yet they would say they're really sociable. I don't know. You see, visibility of that is if women are out on the streets, they're having fun, having a laugh with their friends or whatever. I can remember going out one night in New York, in Newcastle, And there's a long road in Newcastle, and everybody drinks on the street. They can't drive down the road because people in the road, all the glasses and bottles and whatever, they sort of close the road off because it becomes like the road is, everyone just stands outside. It's just like basically in the street. And I've never seen such short white dresses in my life. The dresses were just covering the knickers, and they have heels like this, white stiletto heels. And I kind of was observing this, and one of the guys said to me, "It's a certain breed of person we have here." He said, "They're great fun, those sorts of girls." And the way he said it, I wanted to punch him. And I said, "Well, I'm sure that when they dressed up, they thought they looked lovely. And they probably thought it's like a uniform they're all wearing. So that's why they're all wearing it, because they're all copying what the other one's wearing." And he just watched them. But in my heart, I was like, and I'm going back 30 years. So one of the things that came out of my deep dive of this isolation is that if you think about safety, we talk about, are women safe walking out around on their own? Would you let your daughter go out and be out and about and doing their thing? Would you be happy with your daughter doing their thing? I just want you to think about that for a moment. If you don't want your daughter out and about because you're worried about her safety, be equally worried about her safety on the internet. Because who she thinks she's talking to, she probably isn't. The other day in the US, there was a picture came out, and it said there were 300 million IP addresses where they downloaded child pornography, and they were actually actively working on 1%. I'm not saying that your women are children. I'm saying that the internet isn't a safe place. And we can make it as safe as we want to. We can try and do all these belts and buckles and do whatever we want to try and tighten it up. But I'm just telling you, we might not think we're safe on the streets. We might not think we're safe in the bar because of our drinks. But are we safe online? Is the guy we're talking to online really single? Or is he married with 2 kids and is just on a dating app because it's a bit of a laugh, isn't it? Wife's going away the weekend. It happens all the time. Coexistence is not conflict. I think we can coexist without conflict. I think we can have rules, we can have boundaries, we can know each other well enough to know what's right, what's wrong. We can share bank accounts, we can do all the things that lots of people do. I mean, Charles and I have a shared bank account, but then we have our own bank accounts too. And the shared bank account is the one that pays the bills, where our main money sits. And our play money, our bit of spare money, is on our own accounts. And it won't be a lot because there's a sizable amount of bills still to pay, even when, we're just getting rid of one of the properties. When that's gone, there'll be a mortgage gone, we'll be a lot better off. But right now, we're still watching the pennies, like being not mean, not tight, just careful, just just watching what we're doing. But if I was to say, if you need to hire a skip, hire a skip. I wouldn't say, oh, I can't afford a skip. But what I would say is, do we need a skip, or can we both fill both the cars and take it to the dump? You know, I'm more of a, can we try it this way, or is there a different way, or can we save some money, or whatever? And that isn't because I'm living in a world of I'm not living in a world of abundance. I'm living in a world of fear. That's not what we're living in. We're living in a world of, it's different now. We were like that when the company was dishing out that level of dividend. Now they're dishing out this level of dividend. We adjust accordingly. We've got mortgages. We had to, as Annie will tell you himself, when you rent properties out and you get them back and they're in a dreadful state, you spend out thousands of pounds to get them up to speed in order to re-rent them out again. And that happened to us. And then the second one we've got is we're trying to sell it. And when it's sold, it's gone. That's it. No more buying of houses. We're done. We are done. It's just not worth it anymore in the UK, in my view. So to end this particular part of it, I just want to ask the question, if coexistence is not a conflict, does that mean we can actually have unity rather than blame? I prefer the unity. Not everybody would agree with me. Your strongest conclusion is always that men are the problem. But it's so much more than that. We're living through a moment in time where expectations have changed faster than human relationships can adapt. And as a direct result of that, in my view, women are exhausted from being judged constantly. Men are exhausted from feeling like every step is wrong. And somewhere in the middle, people are still trying to love each other, protect each other, and understand each other. That's balanced, thoughtful, and likely to make you think, well, yeah, that's kind of where we got to. But did you? Did it take a lot of work? Were you a rough edge that needed to be sanded to fit into the space that was available? I think I did, if I'm truthful. I think I was probably a bit of a feisty beast. And Charles is a very straight talking, very calls he calls it as it is, as he sees it. He hasn't got any edges about him. He's as honest as the day is long. He wouldn't lie to you ever, but he would tell you if he thought something wasn't right. And then it's up to you to decide whether or not you want to make an argument over it, or whether you just walk away. 9 times out of 10, I go, okay, whatever. Makes you happy. Whatever. Doesn't mean I agree with him. It just means that in that moment, he needed to hear that. Makes sense? You don't need to always poke the bear. Sometimes you can just go, I'll leave the bear alone. I'll poke him in my head. And I'll save it up for another time. That's what I tend to do. So, if we now say that there is a possibility that we need to do some work on adapting, if we agree that women are, and this is a very judgmental statement, but people say that women, and I appreciate there are lots of different relationships, and I'm just doing the male female at the minute, but this would work in all relationships, whether it's male male, female female, whatever the relationship. Okay, there's always going to be a need to have a conversation about the boundaries, about the rules, about what's expected. I don't think that when you read a book like, I think it's Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus or something like that. Men Are From Venus, Women Are From Mars, something like that. That's a great book for showing how we think differently. The same problem, execute completely differently. Both come out with a conclusion, both are satisfactory. However, the execution is completely different. So I think that book was the first one to ever show that we're very different, and we always will be very different. And The Devil Wears Prada as a film did a lot of damage in a way. It was very funny, and it did show that there are people out there that are like that. 100% I've worked with them. But generally speaking, I think it made, the idea of women wearing shoulder pads and bright red nails and, strutting around the office shouting at people and just throwing their coat at someone expecting them to catch it, and somebody coming in with a cup of coffee as they walk in the door, that kind of thing is a little bit far-fetched. As managing director that I would say there was only one or two times in 5 years, that I ever had to have everybody in for a discussion. And that was because people were stealing coffee and licking toilet rolls. And I know that things have gone up a lot, but you don't steal from work. And if they wanted me to continue to give them free tea and coffee and sugar and biscuits and bread for toast and butter for toast and etc., then they'd stop stealing the toilet rolls, they'd stop stealing the coffee. And it never happened again. But I did have to say it, because otherwise it would be wrong. But it's one of those things where people think, oh, I only stole a pen, I only made a few phone calls in the office, or I nicked a couple of envelopes and a stamp. Is that theft? It's the same kind of thought process. What are the boundaries? What are we allowed to do? What is acceptable to do? And the same thing goes on in relationships. Because if you've got an exhausted woman, and then I'm going to bring Lisa in now and say, let's say she's going through her menopause as well. So she's also quite hormonal and possibly a little bit short, maybe, possibly-ish. That, whatever comes her way in the way of a comment or a statement, could be twisted. Because if you're looking for a fight, if you're looking to twist a problem, if you're looking to create an issue, then you're going to take every opportunity. Because actually, your hormones just need to have a fight. So you're going to make something out of nothing. That's just what happens. And unfortunately, it happens all the time. And people nitpick all the time. And something happens, and it's like, but I remember in 1979 when you took the blah de blah, and that meant that I only had and you're like, that was like 50 years ago, 40, 25 years ago. What's going on? Why are you talking about that still? Because it's point scoring. And there's a lot of point scoring going on between the male and the female in relationships. And that's come through on 2 studies, that the point scoring is still very prevalent. Blue jobs and pink jobs. I found that quite amusing. A blue job being perhaps putting bins out because they're quite heavy and whatever. And the pink job might be cooking the meal. But then maybe the pink job could be drying up when he washes up. I think there's no rules about what's a pink job and what's a blue job. I could put a plug on. I never asked a man to put a plug on for me. I fitted a ladder when I needed a loft ladder. I fitted a loft ladder. I had to follow instructions, granted, but I got there. I can do flat pack furniture. I swear at everything, but I can do it. I tiled a complete bathroom, which was 25-foot square walls. Yeah, 25 foot square. So it was long, thin, and I did floor to ceiling with a blue in the middle. I swear to you, every tile I swore at. I hated it. And then when I came to the window, I just phoned up my friend's husband who bought me the tiles, who's the tiler. And I said, I can't do the window. I can't possibly do the window. And he went, I'll come and do the window. I went, okay, fine. I'll leave the difficult bits to you. So then I just proceeded with all the things that looked pretty straightforward, and everything that looked a bit complicated and left. I wasn't great with the dado rail. He made me put the string thing that I kept getting annoyed with the string thing and trying to keep everything straight. It was hard work. I hated it. Am I fit to be a tiler? No. If somebody asked me to put 4 tiles up above a sink, I'd say no. I hate tiles more than life itself because of that incident. But if you want me to change a plug, I'll do that for you. So I don't think this blue job, pink job thing is really a thing. I know that it goes on in people's houses, but I think it's more just the boundaries thing. I think it's just kind of like, well, if I do this, you do that. It's a fairness thing. But something to come back to. Maybe the real challenge of 2026 isn't whether women can survive in the modern world as they are. It's whether men and women can learn how to coexist in one. Honestly, authentically, respectfully, safely, and without fear. And I think that's one thing that I would say I'm extremely skeptical about. And that is, are we capable of actually living a life of coexistence and allowing perhaps our if we say, for example, we're going to have a date or we're going to have a relationship or we're going to start something, at what point do you discuss whether you want children? At what point do you discuss whereabouts you're going to live if you both own houses? At what point do you discuss who's got what money put away? At what point do you discuss who's paying for the wedding? There's so many situations in this new world that were not there before, but are not just there now, but they're really there now. And I can remember feeling like the worst mum ever. I had a cesarean with a child that was extended breech, so it was a real rough ride. I lost a huge amount of blood. My blood pressure fell off a cliff. There's a photograph of me wired up to about 50 machines with Ben lying very close to me, swaddled. And that was the photograph that was going to be if I wasn't going to make it. And I have the photograph. I don't like looking at the photograph, but I have the photograph. And that was the nurse's idea to do that because she wanted a photograph of me whilst I wasn't still going. And then I made it through. I didn't see Ben for the 2 days that followed. I was in a semi-coma thing. And then when they brought me through and brought me out of it, that was the first time I met my son. And it was wonderful. And there was a lovely bond from the minute I saw his cute little face, and you all know how much I adore him. But I'm not saying it wasn't easy. I got home from the because I was never having children. It was never going to happen, and I'd invested heavily in a new company, in a startup. They couldn't afford to employ me, so I was still going to be doing my own consultancy. And then I found out I was pregnant. I told them. I said, "What do you want to do?" And they were like, "Well, we still want you as part of the investment team. And what we'll do is we'll pay for your nanny as a contribution to your household, and then you can work for us and work for yourself." And I was like, "Great, now I've got the job of being a mum, I've got the job of working for them, and I've got the job of being a consultant." And yes, I had a cleaner, yes, I had a nanny, yes, I had help. And Charles was working, so he was, gone, that most men are, from early in the morning till fairly late at night. And then we moved here. So when Ben was 2.5, we moved here. But the point I want to make is we really do have to remember that we wanted all of this. We wanted it all. But in wanting it all, we got more than we bargained for. And there's another part of this conversation. I'm going to be careful what I say because I don't want to trigger anyone or set anybody else off. But the other part of this conversation that we must think about is if a girl comes into the office and she's wearing a skirt that is, for all intents and purposes, a mini skirt, is she asking for men to lure at her and say comments and whatever? Or is she just wearing a skirt that she saw and got in the sale and it looked lovely? She's got nice long legs and it looks lovely on her. And the other part of the question is, what right does it have for somebody in a superior position to call her in to their office just so that they can intimidate her? Perhaps, drop that. We pick that up first. I was bent over a desk once. I mean, physically bent over, because we used to have circles in the middle of all the cables came up when they go in the back of the computers, and my Ethernet cable had come out back in the day, talking about 1,000,000 years ago, and somebody was under the desk, and they were poking up the cable just to demonstrate. They were poking up the cable, and I was hanging over the desk trying to catch the cable. And as I was lying across the desk, suddenly I felt 2 hands on my arse, my bottom, my ass. And I said, "Who's that?" And this voice said, "It's Stuart Fox. Paulette, that's what dreams are made of." And I got up, and I had stiletto shoes on, and I put one right in the middle of his foot. He howled. I think I did make a significant dent in his foot. He was jumping up and down and hobbling about, and I turned around and I said, "If you ever lay a finger on me again, I'll sue you." And he just said, "Oh, have a bit of fun. It was a bit of a laugh, bit of a this, bit of that." And I was like, "God, I hate that man." And then I turned up one day at a hotel with him. We were on a conference together. He was, at this point, I was sales manager. He was sales and marketing director. And he was looking to take over the CEO's job when that person, or managing director, I think, when they were retiring, and he had already got about 6 or 7 black marks, we found out afterwards, because there had to be full disclosure, and then it all came out. But we turned up at this hotel, and there was 3 Scottish people working behind the counter, and I just said, "Oh, hi, I've got a room booked in my name." It was Paulette Gallifant at the time, and they were like, "No, we haven't got a room booked in your name." I said, "No, definitely, it was ordered and booked. Have you got one for Stuart Fox?" And they were like, "Oh yes, that's right. He cancelled one of them." And I said, "Well, could you reinstate it, please?" And they're like, "We're really sorry, we are fully booked." And I said, "Well, in that case, I'll be sleeping in the laundry closet because I am not with him." And they were like, "Well, let me see if we can do it." And I was like, "Well, somebody better had." And he was standing there, he was laughing as if it was the funniest thing he'd ever done. And obviously, it was one of his tricks, one of his absolute standard tricks of the trade. And what happened next was, in front, he said, "How about I agree not to touch?" And I said, "How about we agree you're not sleeping with me?" And then he said, "You're not that attractive. I don't have to, something like that." And I said, "Well, I'm really pleased that's how you feel, because that's how I feel about you. But nonetheless, I'm not sleeping with you. So either you go find a room somewhere else or I do." And he wouldn't budge. He wasn't having it at all. And he was just standing there smirking away. And then the young lady came out and she said, "The manager would like to see you." And I thought she meant this, like Mr. Fox, my boss. And I said, "Oh, no, you." And I walked into his office and he said, "I've just been told everything that's been said out there. They're going to write up statements for you tonight, and I will write one too. You're in the bridal suite. Have a nice evening. The meal's on us tonight. I wouldn't recommend going down for dinner. Have it in your room." I said, "Okay, fine. Thank you very much." And he said, "Oh, Seth, it's on us. Don't worry about it, because that'll be the next thing about who's going to pay." He said, "Don't worry, it's on us." I left there with 3 envelopes, 3 statements. So when I went to Industrial Tribunal, well, first of all, I went up to HR, and HR phoned down and told the woman he was having an affair with that I'd been up there. So I came down, walking down the office, and everybody knew, the whole office knew. It was horrendous. And I just felt like I had no option but to leave. And I thought, well, why should I just leave? So I said, "I'm not just leaving." I said, "You will pay me for everything that you put me through." And he was like, "Oh, I will sort something out. We'll give you a few quid." That's what we always do. And I went upstairs and they were like, "Look, we didn't say it, like, wasn't meant to be broadcast around the office." I said, "What kind of HR department are you?" I said, "When I write up my statement," I said, "I'll be including everything what's gone on with you as well." And then I said, "I'm going to go to court." And they were like, "Please don't do that. We'll give you this amount of money." And I think it's like 6 months' wages and whatever. And I said, "Fine, I'll go." I just wanted out by then. And it wasn't until about 6 months later, maybe less than that, 4 or 5 months, about 4 months later, I've just started I've been in a new job about 2 or 3 months. I was thoroughly enjoying myself, really nice people, everything was great. There was no issues, everybody was just all good friends, all having a good old giggle and laugh together and enjoying coming to the office. I got a phone call from my friend Ali, who used to work at STC, and she said, "I'm going to court I'm going to sue Stuart Fox. Will you come as a witness? Because you've got statements and everything. I said, yeah, absolutely, I will. HR had demanded I handed them in. I had copies. So, I had nothing to lose. I wasn't working there, was I? And I said I got paid off to shut me up. I said, but this is the truth. This is what people have been putting up with for years. And he walked. He had to leave. He left that day. He walked out of the courtroom and they had to sack him because they had no choice. Because there was like a Me Too movement going on. I think about 12 women all turned up and said, Me Too. The whole one room story, it'll be all right, we can lie on the bed together, I won't touch you. Yeah, like, heck, that's going to happen. But anyway, with Ali, she got cornered when she went down to dinner with him in the evening because they were talking about her promotion, and he was a bit jolly and happy, got a bit handsy in the lift, pinned her up against the back of the lift, and she put a knee in his groin, and she played hockey, she was strong as an ox, and he came back at her again to slap her, and as he went to slap her, she ducked, and he smashed his hand into the metal of the lift, and at which point the doors opened and two people got in, and Ali got out, and he tried to get out, and she said, don't let him out. And they didn't. These two men didn't let him out. Alison went straight to reception, told reception wanted to call the police, she'd been assaulted, and the police were called, there was an investigation, and that's what happened. Now, could that have been me? Yeah, quite possibly. Would I have been strong enough to hold him down? Probably not. She was about 5'10", and as I said, a hockey player. She was a strong girl, and she could hold her own. Whereas I think he'd have probably pushed me over then. I think I weighed about, I don't know, 7 stone, 8 stone, something like that. I would have been blow me over. So he could easily have really messed me up. And those kind of people are the sort of people that we're now hearing about in the Epstein files. We're hearing about these people of power who've abused that power. And we need to think about that right the way back to where we come from, full circle moment, where we say, how do we coexist when we're thinking to ourselves, oh, I've got 2 children, I'm a single mum, I'm going on a date, the guy seems lovely, I really like him. 3rd date, this is looking like it could be something. 4th date, maybe I'll introduce them to the kids. But before you introduce anybody to your kids, you've got to run a check on them now. You can go to the police and ask them, do they have any records of, anything that's predatory or sexual towards children or whatever? It's pretty gruesome to think you've got to ask that question. But I think you'd be foolish not to. I certainly would have done if put me in that position. I would definitely ask that question because we don't know who's living next door to us. We don't know who is or who isn't, what kind of people they are. We don't really know very much at all about the people in our neighbourhood, in our communities, because guess what? We don't have communities anymore. So we are lone sheep. So, I think we really do need, unless you've got, and very lucky to have an environment that you've all lived there for a while and that there is a sort of camaraderie and you feel like you do belong, and it's like the television program Neighbours, everybody needs good neighbours, because good neighbours become good friends. Well, I don't really speak to either of our side, not through to do with anything we did, but because we objected to a window for somebody, and that kicked them off. And we put a roof on the conservatory, and that upset somebody. So I don't really, it wasn't anything we specifically did. It's just how it is. But I think that you really do have to think back to the male-female role, the community leaders in the roles, who is they used to call it a matriarch, like in the elephant world, the lead elephant, the oldest female elephant is the matriarch of that pack, that group. And I don't know if they're called a pack, I'm not quite sure what a gang of elephants are called, but whatever they're called. And she takes them backwards and forwards to all the water holes and remembers all the routes of which way they're going and what they're not doing. In the olden days, the mums were definitely the matriarchs of families. I don't think they are so much anymore. I don't know that the mum has as much say as she used to. And I don't know whether or not, for example, whether or not daughter-in-laws and mother-in-laws are able to be really good friends, let alone mothers and daughters or sons and mums. It's dads and sons. There's so many people don't speak to their parents. There's so many families are broken down. There are so many people who are, their whole family is just completely scattered around and everybody's lost touch with everyone, and that's just how it is. How do we hope to teach our kids what a normal relationship looks like? And when I say normal, I don't discard LGBTQI+. I'm saying that whatever normal is to you, how do you make that relationship work in society with societal norms, and also in a situation where there's no rule book. No one's told us how to cope with all these changes, and all of a sudden we're thrown in and we don't really know what we're doing. On that note, Annie, I'm going to pass it over to you and hear your two pence, please.
I was having fun just listening. I don't know where something got dark. Because it is getting darker, Where do you want to start? Many of our friends are here, so let's welcome them rightly as we should. How you doing, Kelly? I just messaged Kelly just now, literally just now. Kelly, that's like everyone else who's here. Look, I changed my phone, so my WhatsApp chat's didn't copy over to my new device. So if I haven't messaged you lately, it means that you're further down my. I just can't see you on my list of people that I haven't messaged. But I'll fix it. Slowly but surely.
Charles,
you can mute yourself while you're there, Paulette. You're gonna be doing Charles. Should I mute you? I don't really want you touching the device. Yeah, you're muted now.
I hear it.
Yeah. I say Nikki.
I apologize.
Welcome. So are you back again now? You got Lisa. Say Lisa. How you doing, Lisa Marie? So I haven't seen you for a while. Glad you're here. Welcome all of you. So Alexis, of course. It is a thing to check the background of a new partner. That just sounds so weird, but I know that I understand the need. It has to be done, right? Mr. Curtis, we see you. How you doing? Sharon Rose says, "Don't start none. Won't be none." I don't know. There's a point there, Paulette. The relationship part you talked about. I think there's something there that's gone wrong in humanity. And you can't do right for doing wrong. That's for men and women. I don't know. Someone asked the other day. I saw something. Someone asked, "What did you used to do before the internet? How did you used to know what you liked? Unless you knew everyone else liked it too." We didn't care what anyone else thought, right? How did you know what to do, if it wasn't online? Because we worked it out. We did what was right for us, what worked for us, right? We didn't have to look at other people. But I think we live in an age of judgments, and insecurity, anxiety. And here's the conversation today, my friends. People just are no longer sure of themselves, and no, we are. I say this as a parent, of sons and daughters. So our sons are being destroyed by anxiety because anything they say or do can be construed as a crime, literally, literally. And our daughters are equally confused now because everything everything they do can be construed as malicious. Different intentions. Anyway, Yolanda, not Yolanda, Latoya, how are you doing? Latoya, I haven't seen you for a long, long time. I'm so glad you're here. Welcome, so Brother Charlie. We'll see you. And we'll also see Francesco. Feeding your partner's heart. I like that. Yeah, that's how it used to be, Brother Charlie. That's how it used to be, right? Now people, they, the question is always who's to blame. How you doing, Jay? Who's to blame? Who knows? Who knows, right? It doesn't matter who's to blame, does it? Does it matter? Yeah, it does matter who's to blame, right? We can't fix it unless.
I think there is a little bit of an add-on that I was gonna tease afterwards with. It's like the cream on the trifle, this, right? If you imagine if everything a man says you disagree with and you have a difference of opinion of, because ultimately you're a female, your genetics are different, your makeup is different, your hormones are different, you are made different, you've got different plumbing systems, everything is different, right? And then you've got the man who is looking at the woman going, what the heck is that? I don't know how to handle that. That is feisty, and it's like going in the lion's den, too scary for me. I think I'll walk away. And then the woman sitting there going, well, why don't anyone go out with me? What's wrong with me? Why don't people like me? And our friends would be saying, well, you're attractive, you wear nice clothes, you're a lovely person. It makes no sense. And then we find out that the way that she speaks to people and the comments she writes and the curt, well, before I decide where we're going to go on our first date, give me 3 options. The guy's gone, up yours, bye, gone, And we were like, well, why did you write that? And she's like, I wanted to see what kind of person he was. I wanted to see what kind of places he'd take me to. And we were like, is that right? Is that fair? Like, he's got to do a CV before he can actually take me on a date.
It's a new way, Paula. It's a new way. It's a 2026 way, right?
I think the answer is, in this situation, and I'm hoping we've sparked a few people here that want to come up on stage and share and give their opinions, because I really do believe that we have got to this. I think it's Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus is the book that I read years ago. And it really does state very clearly in that book about the physiology and, the psychology, and everything about us is different, okay? We are different. But different is what we've always been, right? We have always been different. So what we are now is different, but with a bit more to say for ourselves. And that bit more to say for ourselves is where we jar, When we were different, but we molded, that was okay. That was maybe 20 years ago. Now we're jarring. We're jarring all the time because we want to be independent. We want to be respected. We want you to do this. We want you to do that. I mean, as I said, do you want to open the door for someone or do you want to slam it in their face? You tell me what's the right thing to do. I personally think if I'm going through the door, I'll hold it for you. If you're holding the door, you can hold it for me. I got no issue with that. I would hold the door for somebody the same as they would hold the door for me. I would buy, I'd pay for my half of the meal and their half of the meal, or we could go splits 50-50. We can do whatever wants to work for you works for me, except me paying for all of it, because that's not fair, unless it's agreed. My foster brothers have a habit of, should we go out for a curry? Do you have a Chinese round at yours? And I'm like, that's gonna be around. Is that like all come round to me and everyone has a good old, they order 50 dishes each kind of thing, you know, the table's covered. You know, it's a pea take, but I kind of love them and it's okay. But, you know, my foster brothers have got a real special place in my heart. They take liberties. But if that was a relationship, it would end. It would be over. It would be gone, right? That liberty would only get taken once, and then it would be like, I'm sorry, you had your moment, goodbye. You know, I still remember Terry Gatland, that stockbroker. I remember his blinking name, Terry Gatland. I remember it because of that meal. I was fuming.
I think I would be too. I don't think that was any. You know, again, it's moving away from that thing, that molding that you said. Like, we'll find our place, and we'll work out who we are, and then we'll work out our new normal, literally. You know, that's no, but I think because everyone is looking, so they're looking online. They look, are they being influenced? Yes, of course they are. You know, but they're learning now. They're learning weird lessons. You know, and it's ruining everyone's happiness. I mean, it's ruining some random person, Paul, like some random, I don't know who, this random person out of nowhere made a comment, why are we making life hard for women? But I was judging them. I have no idea who that person is, so ignore that one. Anyway, I think that's an important one, right? You know, because we're making life hard for ourselves, like for everyone. You know, we can't just be simple, happy, and just be ourselves. Yeah, that's a problem. What we say, welcome, blessing. Of course, we see you. Say Gladys, we see you as well. Superstar Gladys. And Linda's here. Who else do we have? So of course, Dr. Lisa's here. You mentioned her. Yeah, Professor Roxana is here as well. Jackie, thank you all for spending your time with us. You know, if you want to join the studio, the link is in the comments, so you can just click on the link from there. And I want to share the link here, might as well.
I'm sure Jackie's got something to say on this topic. I'm sure of it. But I mean,
Jackie talks relationships, right? So
I know, so she must have. But I mean, the key thing that, right, let's just put it in a different perspective. My psychologist friend, who was just put on the spare moment phone call, can I just ask your opinion, as I often do? They were my supervisors, so I'm allowed to ask questions. I just said to them, what do you make of this conversation? And do you know what she said? Don't go there.
Yeah, I can well believe that.
Why no go there? It's not a no-go zone. Why no go there? And she said, just don't go there. You're just asking for trouble. And I said, why does it have to be trouble? She said, because there's no solution.
Yeah.
There is no solution. The solution is there is no solution.
You got now to win now, and now you got nothing to win, all to lose.
Nothing to win. Everything. She said her words were, "You're doomed if you do, and you're doomed if you don't."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh my gosh, thank you for that. So helpful." And I said, "Have you got anything else to add?" And she's like, "Not really." Apparently, Freud, there's a Freud quote that basically says that if you agree with everything your wife says, you'll never be wrong.
Yep.
And
Yep.
that was
I
the
believe that.
sort of 1950s sort of attitude, dare I say it.
It still works in
1950s, 1960s, maybe
It still
early
works.
70s. But that's kind of like, I think when the wife was at home, the man came home with his packet and gave his wage packet to his wife and all those things. We've seen it on the telly. We've seen what it used to look like, right? They all seemed fairly happy until I was told that on a Friday night, the men would all go down the pub with the money they were allowed to spend if they went home first and dropped the wage packet off. If they didn't go home first, there probably won't be a wage packet because they'll spend it all in the pub, right? They'll get absolutely out of their face, come home, the wife says, "Where's your wages?" down the pub, and then she goes into one, and of course what happens when there's people that are inebriated, it gets a bit loud and leery, screaming and shouting, and the next thing you know, it's fisticuffs, right? And that was quite normal, and they used to call it mother's ruin. Certain drinks were called mother's ruin for that reason. That that women would, if they had the man trained enough, that was, you bring the wage packet home, I give you a pocket money, you get changed, you go down the pub. That's just fine, right? But I don't know. I mean, I find it all very, very strange, very bizarre. And the more I hear about dating sites, I mean, just on that note, I'll come into that one. I'm so glad that I'm not in that
Yeah.
zone. Oh my
Same here.
gosh.
Same here. Same here.
Oh,
That's all.
unbelievable.
With or
I
without the apps, so just dating full stop. I
That's
think it's a
exactly
minefield.
what I
You know.
think, that the apps are really scary because I mean, this lady that I know is on one of these dating sites. She's 72 and she's looking for a sexual relationship. So she's good on her, she's up for it. Um, and she's met a 76-year-old guy who is, I don't know whether he can or not, so she's not sure. But apparently they're going to sort it out, whatever that means. And I just, she does my ironing, and I'm looking at her going, is this a conversation we should be having? Like, why do I need to know about this? And she's like, oh no, it's a really important part of a relationship. I'm like, really? What, when you're in your 70s? Really? She's like, oh yeah. She said, if I couldn't be with somebody who couldn't satisfy me. And I was like, holy schmoly. Like, I thought that you played with irons all day long. Clearly you've got other hits in your toolbox, right? So she says to me, the date's all going really well. And then it started lots of rude text messages going backwards and forwards, and it was all going to happen today, and it was coming over today, and it was all going to happen during the day. I'm like, in daylight. She's like, I'm going to shut my curtains. I'm like, I don't want to know, right? And in the middle of this conversation, I've just had a message come through, and I don't know if I dare even look at it. I don't know if I dare, but all I do know is she was talking about shutting the curtains, and that scared the life out of me.
Poor people. There is no right or wrong. Is what it comes down to, right? Like I say,
Uh-oh.
go and tell us.
Okay. It's okay, but it's not okay. There needs to be work. Work needs to be done, shall we say? We'll leave that as a work in progress. I'll keep you posted. The point I'm making is that, you know, I'm thinking about my 22, 23-year-old son and him trying to go on a dating site because he's never really like dated anyone, and he's saying to me, you know, it's really difficult because at university, you know, you don't really want to kind of get involved with too many people because if it doesn't work out, everybody knows and it's all very complicated. And then he was saying to me, there's 2 or 3 lads that he knows have got relationships with girls, like, gone wrong, and like they walk into like the karaoke bar or the certain pub on the campus, and like they see their ex, and it's like in, and they turn around, they come out, and they're going somewhere else because it wasn't amicable, you know. And Ben's like, I don't want any of that. I couldn't cope with any of that. I wouldn't want any of that animosity or anything, you know. He said, I think I just like to shake hands and say, I'm sorry it hasn't worked out. And I said, yeah, Ben, you try that and see what sort of response you get. Shake hands and say, I'm really sorry it didn't work out. What is this, a business deal? And he just looked at me and he went, is that not the sort of thing you should? No, I don't think so. I think we need to work on that, dear. But I don't think that these young people have been brought up seeing relationships, right? Like the way it used to be. So like it's like Ben's obviously got older parents, but take my friend, like Ben's best friend, there, she's good 10 years younger than us, maybe more. He's just had his 50th birthday, so I'm like 12 years older than him, and I think she's 4 years younger than him, so that shows you how the difference in age. And you know, she has this idea that, you know, it was really important for him to experiment with his sexuality and his whatever he wanted to do. And I looked at Ben and went, does he know something I know? Has he ever made like any noises towards you or anything? And Ben's like, no, I'm obviously not his type. And
Ben's never noticed.
No. And then now he's wondering, like, oh, am I not that attractive to men? Would men not fancy me? And I said, do you want men to fancy you? And he's like, I don't know, but I don't know if I want to be rejected before I get started, right? And then we're laughing and joking like you are. And then he's like, but then is it up to the man to ask the woman to dance? Or can the woman ask the man to dance? And I said, well, even in my day, if you wanted to dance with someone, you just went up to them and said, fancy dancing or fancy a dance. I said, I don't think it was as regimented even back in my day. You know, we always used to dance. All right, it was around a handbag. For some reason, all the girlies put handbags in the middle of the floor, and then we all danced around them. Do you remember those days?
Essex Birds.
Essex Birds, that was it.
Yeah, that was.
So we were all dancing around our handbags. Same as the Kent girls were the same. They were all doing it. I think everyone, Newcastle, all of us. Put your handbags together, dance on your handbags. And then if the guys wanted to join in, they could. It was okay. Everyone danced together. It was fine. And if a slow dance came on, somebody turned around and said, do you want to dance? Yeah, sure, no problem. If they didn't, you'd slope off, pick your handbag up and go to where your drinks were, right? But we never had to worry about somebody putting something in our drinks. My nieces have these, it's like a little tiny hat, about that big. And it's stretchy and it's got like lace elastic around it. Yeah. And it would go over that top, but it would equally stretch over my coffee cup because it's elasticy, made of like a latex. You know what that's for?
Yeah,
to stop you
being spiked, being poisoned.
Well, how awful is it that somebody's had to invent an anti-spiking drink hat for your glass. I mean, I'm glad they've got them. I'm glad that they're available. I'm pleased about that. When the alarms first came out, you know, the personal alarms, you press a button and it goes like crazy, and it's got a torch on it. You press the button and it goes like mad, and people usually run away. I bought them for the girls when they were 16, because I was like, you know, make sure you carry these when you're out and about and doing anything. And then as soon as they passed their driving test and they were off in cars, and, you know, they were so sensible, I didn't have to worry about them. I really didn't. And then it was, one of them got their drink spiked, and she was so ill, ended up in hospital, had to have the stomach pumped. And it was amphetamines of some kind, but it was the combination of whatever she'd been drinking plus whatever they'd put in had curdled and made a mess inside her stomach, and she had to be pumped. It wasn't a huge job because she's only a tiny little wee thing. So it was over and done within sort of 10 minutes. But my brother was there, and he was like horrified to think that his daughter was in that situation. And Yazzie, my niece of Jade, the twins, they were both in the club together, and their drinks were both together, and one of them was spiked at the table where they had, like, people were sitting at the table still. But when you're all gabby, laughing, joking, happy, drinking, you don't necessarily notice some slime ball just slip into a seat and drop something in your drink. And I was so, like, I was so devastated. And then, you know, you sort of think to yourself, how many bad guys are there out there? Right? And then you've got the misogynistic guys.
Yeah.
And then you've got the guys that just think, well, because I paid for lunch, I paid for dinner. Come on, up we go. Let's go, and, you know, you're like, what? Have you ever heard of consent? You know,
the chauvinists, the pigs, the abusers.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then before you know, that's it. Before you know where you are, you've got the situation where you agreed for me to buy the meal. That means, or I bought you drinks all night. That means it's game on. You know what? Where are the rules? And how do you set boundaries when you don't even know these people? You know, it's like you've got a walk around with a placard with your personal rules on it that say, you know, all these things, and that they
That's not going to work,
understand.
by the way. That's not going to work. I'm just saying.
No,
You know,
it's just an idea. It's an idea. No, but I think that the plastic covers for the drinks is a very clever, genius idea. Not that it should be necessary, but if it is necessary, then I'm glad we've got them. But I just would like this conversation to be a bit more positive from a male perspective. But at the moment, I just feel like I've got a stick and I'm going beat, 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 beat. And that doesn't make it right. It just means that's what the perception is right now.
See, I don't think, you know, it's not men that are doing it. It's not men that. Everyone's doing it to everyone. Everyone is casting judgment. Everyone is, no, they know better. Everyone feels that, no, they need to say something. They don't. You know what I'm saying? No, we don't need to say anything. You know, leave people be is what I say. Let me welcome Sharon. How you doing, Sharon? Great to see you, of course. You know, good work you do, mental health. In Kenya or Uganda? One of those.
Uganda.
Okay, cool. And I also see you. So welcome, Patricia. So I haven't seen you for a while, but glad you're here, of course. You know, thank you so much for joining us. Look, Paulette, I think it's about learning to let people be. You know, it's rather than worrying about what goes on, what people wear, what people do, what they say, how they say it, rather than trying to, you know, interpret what. Just take it as they're just being human, you know, and they can do whatever they want to do, right? You know, it's their choice. As long as it doesn't harm me. Frankly, I don't care what you do tonight, Paulette. I don't care how you spend your night. You do what you like, right? I'm saying that's right.
Thank you. That
Like,
gives me so many options.
yeah, but even at home, I say, frankly, I've got, I think it's about finding our peace. I find my peace. I don't have to worry about what my kids are doing because they're doing what they're doing. It's not for me to judge or for me to have an opinion or for me to feel strongly about anything, apart from what's if it doesn't harm me, Paul, I'm not going to think about it. If it doesn't affect me, I'm not going to talk about it at all. That's your battle, not mine.
I like that. I like that attitude, but the only issue with that for me is, and again, I'm devil's advocate, but is that not turning a blind eye? Is that not kind of like taking an easy option and just saying, well, if I don't see it or I don't notice it, I won't correct it? Because my problem's always been that I stick my nose in, and I know I shouldn't, but I always have done, right?
That's why I'm saying don't stick your nose in. It's not your business.
Yeah, but I saved a guy's life when he got stabbed on a train, but it left me so scarred I never used the underground again, right? But seeing someone stabbed in front of your eyes is pretty horrific. And then having the guy wave the bloody knife in front of your face, say, you're next, if you don't get up, you do-gooder, and all the effing do-gooder and all the rest of it. And then all I could say was, at the moment, you've just stabbed him. If you don't let me stop the wound bleeding, he's going to die out. So he's going to bleed out and die. So you'll have a murder charge. So you make the decision what you want me to do. And at that point, I'd already got the guy's belt off his trousers, and I was making a tourniquet around his chest. And I'd done my first aid like 3 weeks before, so I think that's probably what part. It was right in front of my nose as well, because I was right near the exit, and he just wanted to sit down. He wanted this guy's seat. This guy said no. Next thing you know, he grabbed him up. That was it. It was like over and done in seconds. And then suddenly you saw all the claret and you're like, what the heck, Did that really happen? Is it real, But the point I'm making is, if you're the only one that steps up because you know right from wrong and you can help and you can do something, then if I had just sat and done nothing, I couldn't have lived with myself. What if that's my son? What if that was my son and nobody got up to help him?
That's materially and in every way different to whether I wear a short dress. I mean that sincerely.
Of course, there's extremes, but I'm saying,
I'm saying to you,
you can't help but feel like if a girl walks down the road and she's wearing a short dress and a guy wolf whistles her, technically she can now report him to the police.
She can,
right?
Will she? Do I?
I don't think so. I don't think they would.
Right.
And I don't think that she'd be that bothered. She'd probably most women would be like, oh, whatever,
So who am I to jump in and start having an argument with a guy? So you can't.
I don't know that you should in that situation. I think in a war situation or a knife situation, it's slightly different. But I mean, I've stood between two people in the office who are going chinning it, about to punch each other's lights out and go, are you really going to do this in the office? Because you're both going to end up like with written warnings. Are you really going to do this? Why not wait till the end of the day and do it in the car park if you've got to do it, right? But don't do it in the office. And I'm there, 5'4" in heels, probably 5'8", and I got 6-footers either side of me, and I've got my hands on their tummies going, please, on their chest. Let's just not do this, And the men will sit there going,
yeah.
And I'm like,
it's not our business.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That was their attitude.
It is. Is it? Wait, look. See what Patricia says. Patricia says, energy flows where attention goes. if we see
Their
something,
attitude
we
was
can change that for the, we
100%.
change for the
I
better.
didn't think it
Then
was
action is key. I'm saying, that I agree with. Literally most things I'll see, but it's not my business. And I'm not being uncaring. I'm not being blasé. I'm literally, we're at a stage in 2026, Paul, where people have different views, and never has it been more obvious than in the past. And there was no internet to share those different views, the different perspectives, right? There's different preferences, different everything, right? Now it's in our face. I'm saying we don't have to live with it. We just have to just get on with what works for us, primarily. And I guess trust. I think we have to trust others to do what works for them too. I think the issue, let's say, for our daughters and our sons today, is that everyone has an opinion about what they're doing. Everyone has, everyone before they even do it, people have an opinion.
They're in judgment. Everyone
Yeah.
stands in judgment. Yes.
And that is, like I said, that is what's causing anxiety, because now when that happens, you don't know whether to go left or go right. Swipe or don't swipe. Yeah, don't do any of that. Pay or don't pay.
No swiping.
Speak or don't speak. So suddenly choices become a minefield. I think we need to get back to a place where we trust ourselves to do what's right for us.
But that goes back to people. I mean, this is what we've been trying to do with Jack and Water books. Teaching emotional intelligence to a young child, teaching children to trust their gut instinct, teaching children right from wrong, teaching children how to respond to situations. And I think that without those kinds of books, not just my books, but any books that are on those sorts of lines, trying to support young people to grow up in that kind of a way, means that we probably in 2 generations' time, possibly 3, will be okay. But what happens for the next 3 generations, crikey only knows. Because I have a feeling that there are some kind, it's almost as if the internet is lining you up to fail. The internet is saying, look, here's the latest dance that we want you to do. Here's the latest TikTok challenge or whatever. And it involves a bit of shimmying and a little bit of wiggling, a little bit of this, and shake your tail feather and do whatever you do. And there's a lot of wiggling and jiggling going on. Well, they put that up and giggling and laughing, 2 girls, 3 girls together, whatever. They've probably had a couple of glasses of wine on a night out. They just do a TikTok challenge before they go out or whatever. They put it up and then they read the comments the next day and they're distraught, right? And they can't take it down. Because once loads of people have commented on it, the social media companies go, it's got all these comments, you can't take it down, you can't remove it. It's now like their property, if you like. And that goes for, like, the other day, Annie, I don't know if you saw it, a school, a British school won a rugby competition. No, it was a football competition. And they won this league, and they got a brilliant picture of all the girls with the cup, holding it up high. And they were so proud of the girls. They put it in the local paper. They put it on the front page of their school intranet. So the school website, the front page was a picture of all these girls. The very next day, the headmaster got a phone call, and the headmaster was being told that they had to pay X amount of money to stop all of these photographs and videos that they'd made with these girls' faces on them. They turned these girls' faces from the football picture into pornography and disgusting, hideous images. And all that the headmaster could do is put his head in his hands, phone the parents, call the kids in, call the police, and all they could say is, what do I do? How do I fix this? What do we do? How do we solve this problem? How do we solve a problem like this? And I think that that's something else that we now have to consider. Should you put your pictures of your kids on the internet? Should you put your family photos on social media? Should you be able to? Yes. But if there's a risk, no. And I think it's all about this risk and reward type thing, isn't it? It's like that goes for what you're wearing, because there was an article the other day that said in Freshers Week, be really careful and mindful what you do, because there's always loads of people with their cameras out, and that photograph will be with you for life, right? And there was a photograph of a girl over a drain having a wee, and when she went to go to her first law firm to sit her articles, which is the first part of her after her law degree, so that's the first thing you do when you go to work in a lawyer's office, they did a social media check, and what's the first photograph they think they found was her squatting over a drain, and they said nah. And she said, okay, fine, I'll get the photograph taken down. And if I do get the photograph taken down, would you reconsider? And they said, yes.
Nah.
Really? No, they said yes. No, they said yes. Because they saw that she was so mortified, and this was not the person that was facing them 4 years later. That was the very first Freshers Week, that she was 18 years old, first time away from home, living it up to the nth, drunk out of their skulls, dressed in St. Trinian's outfits because it was a St. Trinian's do, and there she was squatting over a drain. And then she begged the social media company to take the picture down, and they eventually agreed to, because she explained that it was ruining her career chances and everything else. And she got a letter from the solicitors that she was going to work for, saying that they would take legal action on her behalf if they didn't take it down. And so it looked very much like the company were backing her 100%. And my friend, whose daughter it was saying to me, would you believe it? And I was like, of course I would. Absolutely I would. And somebody should be saying this to them every single day of every single week. Unfortunately, if you're out and about and you're doing things you shouldn't be doing, you can pretty much guess someone's got a picture of you. In this day and age, somebody's ring camera or something will catch you peeing in the bush or doing whatever it is you're doing, and that will be the picture that will come up when they search on your name.
You see, it's not just ring cameras. So again, there's Patricia's comment. Ladies should be aware that there are ways to provoke men and the ways to provoke women as well. They would, as a man, I know this. There's many ways. As Paulette said, we do what we're doing, but women will react based on 101 things that we don't have a clue about, right? So even though it's unintentional, unfortunately, it is true that people do provoke each other. Yeah, which they do. Look, so we live in a day not even of ring doorbells only, Paulette. No, we live in a day of the meta glasses. You know what they are, right?
Mm-hmm.
Literally, you're talking to everyone you meet. You've got glasses on. It's recording everything. And they say, as Patricia is saying, you never know what someone might choose to then go and highlight, go on snip, go on, put out there to the world as being who you are.
And take it completely out of context.
Yes.
Right? So, for example, we got accused of being racist. Annie and I both got accused of being racist. And like the most unracist people we could ever be, we get accused of being racist. Do you remember?
Yeah, of course I remember.
My mental wellness cafe room got closed down. Everybody was sending appeals and begging LinkedIn to reinstate it, and he's going Sodom to open a new one. I was going, no, I shall be righteous about this, and I shall demand they reinstate my room.
Yes,
And he was like, just open another one.
I'm just like, just move on. This. I think again, this
nope.
this answers the question
right
about
right and wrong is wrong, and I was right. And
you know what you
get away with it.
You know what you just said.
I didn't think it was right
about you know what you said about fake pictures.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I would care much less. I don't think I would care at all. I really, because it's not me. So it's not my daughter. So I
think the school being told to pay 200,000. It's a private school, and they were being asked to pay 200,000 to stop it happening. I mean, the fact the headmaster called all the parents in, had all the children in, had the police in, had security in, had everybody you could think in. The newspaper came in as well because they published the picture. And it went on and on and on and on. And then it went national. And the reason it went national is because it was viral on all of the social medias. It was viral on LinkedIn as well. It went everywhere, so that every single school and every single, Boy Scout, Girl Scout, every single type of organization is aware of this kind of stuff could happen to you. But the question really is, going back to, is that any different to stealing money out your bank account? Is that any different to scams of
Yes.
Because it's detrimental to the individual. That's how I feel.
I don't know. I know. Again, as I say, I struggle to take people seriously when they are creating content or images that have nothing to do with you. I don't know. I mean, you must get emails. I do every day. Oh, you've been watching porn. We recorded you. I'm like, you can't. One, you can't record my computer. Two, my camera is always closed, so I don't know how you would. There's nothing you've seen, so I'm not gonna. I don't care. You rock on. Go ahead. Maybe give me a great body if you want. I say either way. It's not me, so.
I haven't had that one. I haven't had that one, to be honest.
I think the thing is that I refuse to live with the anxiety of what people may do. That's my point, Paulette. I think
I have had the one where I was caught somewhere I wasn't meant to be. Did your husband know you were there?
Yeah.
Hello.
Some people they take their lives over this sort of thing, Paulette. They really do. They're so devastated by being outed.
I'm reading this to Charles, going, do you know when it was I had this illicit affair? Because from what I can gather, I was having my gallbladder removed, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I was in hospital with something else. But I think that my only date, the only place I go is doctors and nurses. That's all I ever play. But I play it for real, not for games.
Yeah.
I just was so shocked, and this person said, if you don't want your husband to know about it, then please, pay $75.
Yeah,
that's a lot of money.
Yeah, just that.
And you knew that it would be $75 the first time, then tomorrow it'll be another 100, and then you know how it works up. So I just said, do you know what? Actually, do me a favor. Can you send it to us? Because I don't remember. And they were like so shocked. And then I said, and by the way, my husband would like to see it, and they went away. But it's got to the point where, are we talking about, are we saying that because men predominantly are the scammers? It's not all men. Ticky tocky talk, whatever you like to call it.
Ticky-tocky.
Mouse ran up the clock. They have got more women frauds than any other people I've ever come across. There are more female frauds than any other. whether it's women offering money to you, and then it's you've won a prize, and then or I'd like to gift you this, or you wouldn't believe the scams. It's daily, and you're just like, I don't want your ex Louis Vuitton bag, because you and I both know it's not a Louis Vuitton bag, and we both know it probably is made out of carrier bags or something. I don't want it. Take your bloody job and go away.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, you're racist. I'm not racist. I just don't want your bag. Come back with a nice bag and we'll talk, but that's not a nice bag. And then they're like, oh, you're not appreciating the art of it all. And there was somebody offered me a bag, and it was made out of crochet. Please like my grandson's crochet bags, because no one likes them, and he goes to market, doesn't sell any and everything. And I was like, oh, that's so sad. Oh, this is me, right? Oh, that's so sad, And then 2 minutes later, there was a different voice, but the same lad. And it's at a different market. And then it's in a car, and someone else is doing the voiceover. And I was like, oh,
you need variations, Paulette, in marketing. You need variation. You can't just have one
variations of theft. Yes, I know.
Look, now coming back to our conversation, Marsha, I see you. How are you doing, superstar? It's great to see you as always. They always have time for our Marsha, because she's truly one of those amazing people who goes all out. That you can join us gives me even more joy. Patricia says people don't care what they do, or they don't care until they do. When things suddenly happen to you, your perspective rapidly changes. I don't know, Patricia. No, I don't know. You're talking to Annie, and Annie's. Look, I took the chill pill when I was a kid, and literally, I've never been. I'm not bothered by anything that doesn't bother me. It's not gonna. If it doesn't bother me today, it's not gonna bother me tomorrow. Because it doesn't bother me, because it doesn't affect me. It's not true. It doesn't reflect anything to do with me. I can understand that. Go on, please.
I'm your friend. You care about me, right?
Of course.
Right. Okay. Somebody takes my face and puts it onto a body of a pornography situation, right? And they start passing it around the internet.
No, Paulette. No.
No, they do. Like,
no, I'm saying, I would not respond. I would not.
Would you not be defending me and angry and fighting it?
I would not give them the pleasure of my efforts, my time, my attention.
It's going around the internet if we don't.
But it's not you.
It's my face.
It's not your body, though. That's the offensive part.
Nobody else knows that.
Everyone knows that.
They don't.
They do.
How do they?
Well, they think you're some 25-year-old.
What are you saying, Ellie? You be very careful, young man. You could be in a lot of poo here.
No. I think, like I say, that you have to go the extra mile for me to care.
Let's say she's a 35-year-old pornography star.
No, it's still not you. No, it's not you. It's not you.
No, it's not me, but it's still my face, and it's degrading.
It's not degrading because it's not you.
But I'd feel mortified. I would want to lift the carpet up and go underneath it and not ever come out.
Why?
Because I would be so embarrassed, and so I would like, please God, don't let the people that I know see it. Please,
I can understand. I can understand you feel violated. I can because someone's on your picture, but the offense, the anxiety, the mental health damage does not apply because it's not, if it was a picture, if Charles shared a picture like you lot took 20 years ago, as I waving around the internet, then I'll be worried for you. I'm saying, but it's not you. It's not real. It's not, it's just like everyone's opinion is not real.
I
I think you have
think if you
to
can live in that world of like, this is my boundaries and you're not
mm,
going to push me, that's
mm,
great. But I reckon you're in the 1% club. I really would
yeah.
say you're in the 1% club.
No, I think that, but Patricia should agree with you. This is a great stoic. However, you're not the common. I don't know how it was to be. So it's the only way I can find peace of mind. So the alternative, Patricia, and everyone else who's here, is to live with anxiety. And I refuse to live with. I can't.
I would, if my face was on a body doing rumpy pumpy with somebody, I would be mortified, and I would be like, please don't let Jay see it. Don't let Jay see it. Oh, I'll never look Jay in the
What do
eye
you mean?
again.
What do you mean? Don't let Jay see it. What? Jay's
It
not
might
looking at you,
turn
is
up.
he?
It might just turn up on the internet, going round and round
Yeah,
and round and
but
round.
it's not you. It's someone else.
Yes,
It's
but I wouldn't want. I would just feel so violated and so embarrassed and mortified. And I think that's what this school was saying. These poor girls are mortified, right? And the police and everybody who was around part of this scam are saying that, it's got to be stopped because one school gets done, right? If they
yes.
paid just to stop it, just say they paid, then all they're doing is going open the door to everyone.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
they
yeah,
did the
yeah,
right thing by
yeah,
pulling
yeah.
everybody together and saying, right, what's the collective decision? The
Mm.
collective decision was, we're going to go after them. We're going to find them. We're going to get their
Yeah,
IP addresses. We're going to
exactly,
find them.
exactly that.
Now, that I agree with 100%. And I would love people
Marsh has
to
come to
say
save you.
that, thank God Martha's coming. But the point I'm making is, I wouldn't want Martha to see my rude movie. I would be like, no, don't
It's
show
not
Martha
your
my
rude
porn.
movie. It's nothing to do with you.
It's got my face on the rude
It's not
movie. I
you.
don't
Look,
want Martha to see it. I
so
would be thinking,
I want to hear
she.
what Marsha has to
All
say.
right,
Look,
I'll shut up.
Patricia says, I wrote an article about Stoicism and the old philosophers where Stoic is not being reactive. Exactly that. Look, if we choose to keep reacting, then we're going to be full of anxiety. Our mental health will be shot. Our mental wellness will be out the window, right? That's the point. I think we need to learn to literally just be who we are and be happy with who we are, and accept, but that, of course, that comes with many things. It comes with doing the right things, being a decent person, and not being the person who creates dirty videos that might come around the internet one day. you know, when people criticize you and it's not, and they got the wrong end of the stick, you just say, you know what, that's them. You be. I said, you're muted. You're muted. I think you're muted.
I was going to say, turn the other cheek is
Oh,
a great idea, but you know what? I think it's much easier said than done. Martha, over to you, darling.
Yeah, talk to us. How you doing? Okay. It seems like your
oh,
video is frozen.
sorry.
We can hear you though.
I'm
No, we
back.
can hear you, so it's fine.
Okay, good, good. So I'm on my phone. Can I see you, Annie, and Paulette? I don't want the camera on me. Oh man. So I was just listening to the last bits of what
Marsha,
was shared.
you've taken
I
away the controller's main trick, right? I put you on screen for any reason to go and open my
oh,
door, to turn the light on, pull the
oh
curtains,
yeah, yeah,
let the
I just
dog.
like seeing you guys. And today is Monday and my son's home from school. So after I leave from here, we're gonna go look at cars because he's into cars. So we're gonna go look at cars. Um
Mm,
but what I was listening to, I had a conversation last week with one of our dear friends, Paulette, and we were talking about how, I don't know if this is on the subject, but religion. People are using religion to scam
mm,
people also.
mm, mm.
Like, oh, if you do this, like, I mean, we've heard it in churches where people give thousands of dollars. Some of them sell their homes because the church is demanding money from them, to be saved.
Mm.
That's like another big thing that I'm like, just very recently we were having this conversation last week, and the conversation was like, would you rather have people that are corrupt to be in positions to run something, or people that are actually going to do something to help people?
Is that a question, really?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So so I don't know if this is along the lines, Paulette, but I heard you speaking about that, and I was like, oh my gosh, I should, share what I conversation that I had last week. And I was just like, you know what? You're right. Like, why is there so much? And then this is a whole other subject, but it is just unbelievable, the things that I've seen myself working in the nonprofit sector. Um, and then the stories that we hear. But yeah, I'll pass it back over to you.
Well, I'll tell you now that the non-profit sector is one of the hardest hit for fraud of any of them. When you do some investigation further on down, when you
Mhm.
start with your doctorate, if you look up fraud as part of that, do a piece on fraud,
Mhm.
and have a look at the various frauds that have been conducted by charities or senior people within charities. It's one of the biggest sectors. The church is another one, but it isn't always the church. It's people who are able to, pastors. It's not the church itself, it's the pastors after the money, or it's a group of people who are within religion who can then turn it on people so that you feel like, if I don't give a tithe, or if I don't do this, I'm a bad
Mhm.
person, I won't go to heaven, and I won't do this and I won't do that. And they make you feel so bad that, as you say, they start to get themselves into debt. And that does happen 100%. But likewise, we've also got the Pope apologising. The last one, not the most recent one before, was the first Pope to actually apologise for all the horrific sex abuse claims from all of the priests in the Catholic Church. That was all hushed and pushed under the carpet. Let's not talk about it. There is so much weird, fraudulent, sexual, pervasive, vile behavior out there. We need to just, I mean, if I want to be like any and go, oh, I don't see it, I'm okay. I mean, that'd be great, but I can't do that. I can't be that.
I
I
didn't
can't
say
see
I
it.
don't see it. I didn't say I don't see it.
What did you
I did
say
not.
then?
All right, that's Patricia gets what I'm saying. Patricia gets it perfectly. She says right. I am trying. I aspire to be stoic. The more I'm not reactive, the more peace I have in the long run. That's my point.
I agree. That
I,
I
I
agree
didn't say I
with.
didn't see it. I just don't react to most things. I refuse to react.
Yeah, but by not seeing it, or not reacting.
No, I see it. I just don't react. If it doesn't
So
affect me, if
what,
it's
you're
not
gonna
my,
see my pornography and you're not
it's
gonna
not
feel sorry for,
you.
you're not gonna feel sorry for me and think,
It's
poor
not
old
you. It's
Paulette,
not.
sad
It's not
this done to her.
you. I know it's not you. Unless
No, don't
somehow the
go
world
there.
has
There's
turned
no pornography of me out there, I can
gone
assure you.
backwards.
That I can promise you. But the point I'm making is that this is the world that we're passing on to our kids. And
Mm,
our
mm,
kids aren't stoic. Our kids haven't been taught stoicism. Our kids haven't been taught how to turn the other cheek, how to not see things, how to not be reactive. Our
Stop
kids
saying.
are
Stop.
reactive.
Stop saying. Don't see things. You see things. You
Yeah,
process
but I'm
things.
saying the kids don't know how to not react,
But
because
is there any way to
that's
be?
taken you years to develop that skill.
Yes. Yes, true,
not
but
something that a teenager or a 20-year-old will know. And so they will react, right?
yeah,
And they will.
but we don't we don't react. Marsha included. You know, literally, how many things are done to us on us every day?
I can't. It's not moving.
Yeah,
So I actually,
we choose not to
I
respond.
I do react. Okay, people that I
Mm,
have helped in the past, they've seen a different side because some of the nonsense that we have to go through just to get
yeah.
help. It's like you're talking to me like I'm a nobody.
Mm,
Okay,
mm,
when you use the word, I can see now why the unhoused members they want to stay away from the word homelessness. And I just recently found out I attended a meeting with HUD, which is a national housing program here in the US, that they're going to be removing certain verbiages for the unhoused community. One of them is going to be unhoused. So they want to cater in a different way, which I think is fantastic. But um, sorry guys, I always end up going down this route. But let me go back, rewind. What was the question again?
No, don't worry about it. You're perfectly right. That
Oh man.
again, that is absolutely fair, because what you're saying is the verbiage, the words, how you
Hmm.
react to things,
Hmm.
why we react to things is because we haven't been taught to be stoic. Our
Right.
kids haven't been taught to be stoic. Our
Oh,
teenagers aren't stoic. They're more
yes.
flaky. God forbid
Right.
I use that word, and I say it like that, and I'm sorry because I hate the word generally. But what I mean by flaky is I mean that they are much like more likely to crumble much
Hmm.
quicker because they're not capable of
Right.
handling what they're being dealt.
Right.
Because we've had years to have these cards thrown at us, right? We've had years, and we're trying to work out the game. We're getting there. We're
Yeah.
smarter than the average bear. We get it. But a kid doesn't get it, and a
Yep.
teenager doesn't get it, and even a young adult doesn't get it. And so
Hmm.
every one of those will be reactive. Every
Yeah.
one of them. There'll be very few any's in there. There might be one or two, but they'll be the odd ones, because you'll be the ones. Oh, look at Any over there. He's stoic. I wish I could be like Any. I really get upset when this happens.
Well, Paulette, I'll share an example. So last week, my son went to a local store to get some candy with his buddies. And he told me that the manager, he didn't know it was the manager, but some bald-headed guy, not you, Lenny, sorry, but that's how he described him to me. He said this guy was following me around the store, mom. And then when I went to go pay, he approached me and he made a comment. He was acting like I wasn't going to pay for the items, that I had. So I said, "Oh, well, we're going to go there and we're going to go talk to them to find out why they were following you." My son said, "No, mom, just let it go." Well, I couldn't let it go. So I called the store and it turns out he's the manager. So we had a conversation, and my son, you know, he wasn't going to he didn't want to speak up. But when he seen his mom stepping in to speak up, now my son, his whole face was glowing like, "Mom, you have my back." Of course I do. But this is something that we as parents or as people, we may see it. My son didn't call him out because he didn't know how to approach it. So now I had to I had to speak with him about it because this is the first time he's experienced someone following him around the store.
And that's the perfect example of exactly what we're talking about, where he's being judged just because he's in the store. He's being judged just because, for no other reason than he's in the store, he's looking at stuff, and he could be a potential shoplifter. And now my question is that a color thing? Is that because uh, uh, is it because he's got a different? It's darker skinned. Is it because he's lighter skinned? Is it because he speaks a different language? Is it because he has an accent? What is it that made him suspicious? And the answer probably is something that's happened in his past that has made him now automatically suspicious of everybody of that
Mm-hmm.
tide. Say,
Yep.
and that's one of the big issues that we have in this world now, is once somebody has been stereotyped, if I like that word, and I don't, you know what I'm saying? Automatically, him and his every time him and his buddies were to go in that shop, if you hadn't have phoned, they'd have been followed.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what you did was show him that not only his mum got his back, but mum stands up for truth, mum
Mhm.
stands up for honesty, and mum stands up for what is right.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the best lesson your son could ever learn
Mm-hmm.
from the best person, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely, 100%. Well
Look,
done, you.
Bro Charlie has given us a different way of looking at it. He says one is about perspectives. People have different perspectives on the same, exactly the same thing we're looking at. We have to stay solid. We have say literally avoid the verbal gymnastics that we seem to have in today's society, which is everywhere. And we have to frame some level of control. We have to have an idea that we're in control of our situation. We are. Yes, these are things we have to teach our kids, Paulette. I agree, but we have to teach them. They have to learn it. Otherwise, you're gonna be ruined. As spirituality says, there's something that some suffer from credulity, literally. They suffer just the impossible apparently happens. No, and these people are not superpowers. They're just keyboard warriors at best of times who want to try and ruin your day. I say, don't give them time of day. Really don't. Don't be doing that. I say, and don't suffer from conjecture either. Literally, we let ourselves be victims when there's nothing to be victim about half the time. And there's no point painting a picture without using paint. I like that, brother Charlie. I like that. There's no picture.
If my head's above it, there's a picture.
Right, and no, Paulette, there's no picture. In case you two have missed it, Paulette's been traumatized by someone who's going to put her head on a porn image and video, and have her doing funny stuff. I'm like, let him crack on. It's not you, so it's all right. She's like, no, it's terrible, disaster. It's not disaster. Anyway, so look, on the shop front, on the shop thing, cognitive bias, there may be everything going on, as you say, Paulette. Maybe everything, as you say, Marsha. When people follow me around shops, I look at them once and I ignore them. I crack on. I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to pay for what I want to buy. What can I say to you? You entertain me if you want. I'm not going to take it badly. I'm not going to make. I think the emotions we generate.
Do you know, you should get Charles on this one, Annie. Just a quickie. I was riding around on my scooter when I drove into something. I'm not proud of myself. I'm not a very good driver on that thing because I don't use it very often. I climbed a wall in a hospital. It's quite impressive. I did a 3-point turn and started climbing up the wall. But we won't go into that. I've got a few bits of damage on the device that need to be glued and sellotape and stuff, whatever. But anyway, I was driving it and I had my handbag in the front of the basket. It's only a small bag, but I had my handbag in there. And I was putting some bits on top of my handbag because obviously I'm riding the thing around the shop and Charles has got the trolley, but I'm still collecting bits that I would like to have. So, and then we came to go through the thing. And of course, Charles is putting all his bits out, and then she sort of looked at me and she went, "Are they yours?" And I was like, "No, I'm about to put them up." She said, "Well, I'm afraid we're going to have to check your handbag." I said, "Beg pardon?" She said, "We have to check your handbag." I said, "Why?" She said, because you might have slipped a packet of paprika in there or something. And I looked at her and I went, do I look like I'm that desperate for a packet of paprika, really? And then we had to unzip my handbag in front of people and show them that I hadn't nicked any paprika. And they shut it up, apologetic. You know, you understand that it's an unusual situation. And I was like, no, I don't understand. I think it's absolutely diabolical that you didn't take my word for it. But you know what? Crack on. And then as we came away, I happened to take the baked beans with me. There was a complete accident, I swear.
Thief.
No,
Thief.
no, I didn't steal any. I just knocked them over.
Oh, okay. Vandal.
Baskets.
Vandal.
No, there was no room. There were 2 big baskets of baked beans, and I tried to work my way through them. There were people standing there with their trolleys. I came through, and the next thing you know is I caught one of the thing of baked beans, and that took the other one, and then there was baked beans everywhere, and I thought, well, that'll serve them right, won't it? That's called payback, isn't it? You know,
you're gonna give Roy Charlie a heart attack if you carry on like that. You know, they say the conversation had lowered his blood pressure, but Paulette can do things like that for sure. Look, before I give you the mic, Cyrus, I love your camera, by the way, and if it has a wide angle thing, I'll take. Right, we'll have to talk later. You know, so Paulette, there is one thing I learned a few years ago. You know, part of writing Yolanda's book. So her grandma said, be careful what you let get on your nerves, because when you get older, they might really be on your nerves. Then you got a health problem. All right, be very careful what you let. No, don't let anything get on your nerves. If you can get away with it, let it go. Cyrus, please share with us, my friend. Welcome. I do love your camera, though. I don't know what you know. You have to let me know what you use.
Hi, everyone.
I'll get one of them. How are you?
I'm all right, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. Hi, Paulette. Hi, Martha, and hi, Annie. The fact that I'm amongst you guys makes me happy. So, with regards to the camera, yeah, we can have a conversation, and I'm not getting any commission on that, so I'll let you know what brand it is, etc., etc. So. My name is Cyrus, and I'm the proud presenter and creator of Readers TV. And one of the great pleasures in life is working with great authors, because they teach you great things. So you can see in the background 3 books by Paulette Hallam: The Banterless Breakfast Mystery, New House Nerves, and New School Niggles. So these books are available on Amazon. Please purchase them for a kid aged between 6 and 12, someone you would like to help. And they make really good gifts, these books. So regarding being a woman, I'm not going to lie. I don't know what it's like to be a woman. I've never been one. And come to think of it, I'm not planning on being one anytime soon either. But I have a daughter, and I want a better world for her. I want to not just want a better world. I want to build a better world for her. I want to help build a better world for her. We keep telling women what to do, which may or may not be their favorite thing to hear. I assume not. So women, from a evolutionary standpoint, they always try to score high, or they tend to score high on compliance. So because they try their best to avoid confrontation and be a part of a group that is amicable. Why? Because a again, from an evolutionary standpoint, their job is to nurture. And their role, sorry, not their job, their role is to nurture. And women complement Mother Nature by providing nurture down to the next generation. Hundreds of thousands of years ago, it would be fatal for a woman or a man to be shunned from the group, and that would affect the chances of survival. They would struggle to survive and to provide for themselves, and they had to, if they were shunned from the group, they would have to actually fend for themselves on their own. They would have to hunt on their own, and they would have to provide for their kids on their own, and that would reduce the chances of their survival and the kids' survival. Therefore, as one of the innate strategies that Mother Nature instilled in them, women became equipped with this really powerful tool, which is being a part of a group and being amicable for the most part. So now things are different, and different to back then, when a woman, for an embarrassing big chunk of history, women were property, unfortunately, which is quite bitter, but the future is much sweeter than the past, and now they are creating the history they want. So the history that was created for them in the past is not really to their liking, and shouldn't be. So now, if we look at the concept of being a woman, being a woman is being a woman, but perhaps we should stop telling women how to be women. We can show them other things, but being a woman, I was under the impression that it just comes naturally, just being a woman. Let them be what they are, because they're already women. Let's stop confusing them, intentionally, at least.
I agree.
Let's stop telling them how to be something they already are. And some of it can be avoided. Some of it, because some people make money out of it, and it's been internalized, intentionally, of course. Just to give you one example, women know this best. What is one of the main features of a pair of trousers that the industry is selling women? What is it? What is it that many women's trousers have in common? Lack of pockets. To the point, some manufacturers use it as a unique selling point. Oh, our trousers have pockets. Why is it that they deprived women from having pockets? Why is that? So they could sell them handbags. So that's extra burden on a woman's family's economy. Okay, so that woman now has to catch up with like, I don't know, Joneses or Kardashians or whatever, and pay for handbags. But we don't do that to men, do we? We don't do that to men. For men, we are pragmatic, right? So we apply pragmatism to men's fashion, but not to women. So some of the stuff that is happening to women is structured and not in nice ways. So I think in the year 2026, one of the things that we can do for women rather than to women is diluting being a woman. Okay, and letting them live as Mother Nature intended, free. Thank you.
Absolutely love that. It's right. Freedom is the word, isn't it? We are all entitled to that word, freedom. But there is a huge but here, and that is that we have to get everybody on the same page. And I found that even dragging half a dozen people along sometimes is hard enough, right? Trying to bring thousands, millions, the universe, humanity, which is what we really need to do. We need to have a complete shake-up of humanity and say, look, women shouldn't be told what they should wear. Women should not be told what they should drink. Women should be accepted that they are equals, and if they decide to get drunk and get themselves into a situation, that is of their making, and they have to be responsible for that. I'm not saying that they're not responsible. If you've done something and put yourself in a stupid position, then you're responsible and you're accountable. But if someone spikes your drink, then you're not accountable, and that is different. But when we're talking about freedom, freedom requires both parties to accept, both male and female, both parties to shake hands and agree on this acceptance. We're going to be free, we're going to be educated, we're going to be able to wear what we want to wear, we're going to be able to do what we want to do, we're going to be able to exercise free will, and we will live our lives as nicely as we want to without upsetting anybody necessarily. That is so far away from where we are now. We are at the point where every single word that comes out of people's mouths is judged. You only have to make one slip up and you're cancelled. One slip up that might have been absolutely unintended. It was never meant to offend anyone. It was a slip up. We used to call them, when it's politics, I misspoke, right? Misspeaking doesn't necessarily get you fired, but if you say something that is potentially offensive, you could lose your job and be cancelled like that nowadays. And that goes to men and women. I've heard about a man was telling a joke. It was a bit risque, but there was only guys around him at the coffee machine. He wasn't to know that the person standing round the corner at the photocopier could hear them talking and laughing and joking. And she reported him for being offensive. And he didn't even know she was there. Because if he'd have known, it was a VP of a bank. If he'd have known she was there, he wouldn't have said anything. He would have spoken to them at wherever time. But he couldn't believe that he was had to go and sit in front of HR and have his hands and fingers slapped and told, don't do that again because you've caused offence. And he had to apologise to her in his office and say sorry and make it all amends and everything. And he didn't even know she was there because she was round the corner at the photocopier. He was at the coffee machines having a laugh and a joke with a few of the lads. Now, was it acceptable behaviour? Banter? I don't know. I'm not going to say. But for her to go, oh, I found it sexually offensive. Bomb. Up he got called. And, at that point, I'm like, come on, live and let live. That's just too much. And that's not because it's my friend's husband. That's because I actually think that's an over-the-top reaction. We need to all exercise free will, but we need to almost understand what the rule book is and create the rule book, because we're talking about the boundaries of life and they've moved. And maybe they're not actually recorded anywhere. Maybe they're not actually known, maybe they're not actually understood, and therefore we have this problem where society is fractured because we are all pieces of a jigsaw puzzle that haven't quite worked out where we need to go. What do you think?
I do like that. It's, as you're talking, I'm thinking, I guess the stoicism, which as Patricia was talking about, and Charlie were talking about in the comments, I think it comes, it comes with responsibility. Again, it's not don't care, or it's not don't look. It is just do unto others as you wish done to yourself, number one. And also, what are your intentions? Why are you doing what you're doing? I think if you come with good intentions, this is my personal take. If I come with good intentions, how you take it, sorry, I can't help you. Because I came with good intentions, right? If you're offended, I'm sorry for offending you, but I can't do anything else about that. That's it. I'm saying, we have to come with our best selves. It doesn't make sense. I mean, go from what Sarah said. I think there's something about we have to be that person who does the right things, to expect others to do the right things for us. That's the only way it's going to happen. There's no grand book, like you say, Paulette. It's an individual thing. We'll benefit from learning how to be a decent person in the world. And yes, it is one person at a time that will make the world a better place.
Can I add something to what Paulette just said?
Please feel free.
Thank you. I was going to say, in the post George Orwell's world, or post Orwellian world, everyone's trying to be compliant, and everyone is very, very mindful of what George Orwell called newspeak. So newspeak means that something we call politically correct, right? If you think about it logically, who says you have to be politically correct? Is the
I think
the concept that you're discussing. I think I got disconnected and got reconnected, right?
You did, yeah. You're okay, but your message was clear. That the new speak idea of Orwell, I mean, his work was so ahead of its time, full stop. But the thing that I would say, regardless, is the decision of what words we can and can't use are made by government. They're made by laws. They're made by that is racist, that is this, that is the other. You can't say this at a football ground because of this. You can't do that because of that. Whatever it'll be. Then you take that into the HR world, and then you take it right the way down, right the way to the into schools. What you say to children about what they can and can't do or say to each other.
Yeah.
But I remember, and it's the most bizarre thing to say, but I'm going to say it anyway because I never hold back in these rooms. You know that. Ben was not a climby child, right? Ben was not a climby child. His friend George was a climby child. So I found George hanging off of our wine rack that was up inside the dresser unit, and it was just the wine rack with one hand he was hanging on while he tried to swipe the sweet jar with his other hand whilst hanging mid-high. I mean, he was literally hanging on wine bottles, while that if they could have gone at any point just crashed. Luckily for him, he was a little lad. But the point was, that was how desperate he was to get to the sweets, right? His family had rules that they only had sweets on Saturday. They would go shopping, and on Saturday after shopping, everybody got to run down the sweetie aisle and choose a sweet. So that's why when he saw this big jar of sweets, he was like, let me at them, because it was different set of rules, right? The rules that were in his house where you only got sweets after you go shopping. The rules in our house where there was a big jar of sweets on the shelf and Ben wasn't bothered by them. And he couldn't cope with that. It was like, I've got to get to the sweeties, right? It was like, it was so compelling. He was prepared to hang off a bottle of wine to sort of swing and come in and try and grab it. And as I said, if a bottle of wine had just snapped at the neck, he'd have been, God knows what sort of trouble we'd been in. But the point was, and I again, what I'm trying to say is, it's about the rules and the boundaries and the who is setting them. And if it's being set in the home, then that's how it starts. We start to learn stoicism, maybe. We start to learn respect. We start to learn what is okay and what isn't okay, what is acceptable, what isn't acceptable, what is the right thing to do in this circumstance and what is the wrong thing to do in this circumstance, right? And, you know, I think that that is the biggest change that we need to see in society, is for us all to find our place that is the most, causes the least amount of harm to others, but has the most positive effect on each other. And if we could find some way of laying that puzzle out, we would have an amazing world. Is it Armstrong, or What a Wonderful World? You know, that's the song that's going around in my head at the moment, you know. And it could be a wonderful world, but unfortunately it's like we've got all these demon hunters above our heads coming down and swooping and grabbing a handful of the jigsaw pieces and just running off with them, and somebody else is coming over and we've got half the jigsaw made, and they come in and they swoop down and they just screw it all up and start again. And so at some point in our lives we have to come to a perspective where we all get on the same page, that the bad guys have to lose. And the only way the bad guys have to lose is by the collective saying that behavior is not acceptable. We are stoic in our position. We're holding our line. We're not taking that behavior, and you need to, whoever it is, police or whoever, need to deal with whatever they need to deal with.
Yeah, Paul, I agree with you to a great extent when you said what HR says, what government sets, right? What many people have forgotten is that your government works for you, not the other way around. And whatever you contribute is, again, for everybody else. It's not for the government. You pay them to serve you. Okay? So that's the government in principle, right? Even though that's not how it works in real world. Now, what is accepted and what is set in stone, even in the law, right? It can and sometimes should be changed. You know, the first time, you know, it was also in the law, and it was an accepted rule for a woman, especially a black woman, to give up her seat, right? What did Rosa Parks do? Well, she didn't want it. What did Claudette Colvin did? What did she do? She didn't want it. She didn't want to do it, right? So just because it is conventionally accepted, it doesn't make it necessarily right. So I would take what Paula said further a little bit and say it is at your discretion as well. Sometimes, so we're not robots, right? I know we are in the age of AI, but we're not robots. Emotional intelligence is way more valuable and way more important than being smart, being witty, right? So in a world where everyone's intelligent, okay, to be honest, my policy is, personally in life, I look around and I always see people more intelligent than me. Okay, so as far as I'm concerned, I'm not the most intelligent. And trust me, if you apply this in your life, that would be much safer. You'll always be a few steps ahead of everybody else. And it helps you predict things better before they happen to you or for you. So always remember, the world is full of intelligent people. There are 8 billion people around you, right? And sometimes you hear something and you feel very strongly about it, and you feel like you have the best idea in the world. Remember, whenever that happens to you, have a look at there are 4 walls around you. Outside those walls, there are people who might disagree with you, and the world will carry on turning, whether you agree with them or disagree with them. Okay, so it's not going to be the end of the world if people disagree with you. So again, just to reiterate, just because something is accepted, it doesn't make it necessarily right. And just because people disagree with you, it doesn't mean they hate you or they're not playing the same league as you. It's just a disagreement. Okay, so so one of the things that, in my view, one of the things that a woman should apply is that don't worry if what you're thinking is different to what everybody else is thinking, right? And I heard somewhere, I read somewhere, they were laughing at me because I was thinking differently, and I was laughing at them because they were all thinking the same, right? So perhaps being a woman in 2026 is that it's okay if everybody else is thinking or behaving differently. You don't necessarily have to be like them. If that was the case, people like Rosa Parks would still have to give up their seats. But she said no to that. And that is courage. And that gives me goosebumps, honestly. In a world where everybody's thinking the same, she turned around and said, you know what? How about no? That's all I wanted to add. Thank you.
I think I would probably go even. I love that, and I love the fact that you bring up that particular time in history, because I know that we're being told that cognitively we are being less productive in terms of cognitive function because of the screens and because of all of the stuff that the kids have, the phones, the gadgets. It means that their cognitive function is lower. So it used to be that every year cognitive function would be going up, and now we're the first time since COVID it's been going down, and it's been still on the decline. And the guise was very vocal in the courtroom and in the Ellen Room case regarding the whole well, not just Ellen's, but the parents against social media. He was saying in court that they've got the evidence to back this up. I think that if parents aren't going to parent, and parents don't know how to parent because maybe they weren't parented, right? So we go back another generation. So we go like, my generation didn't parent properly. I wasn't parented properly. Now we're going down another generation where they weren't parented, and actually even worse, they were brought up and given devices as babysitters, so their parenting is even a lower level than going back 2 generations. And so I think that it's wrong to expect schools to be the guidelines of this behavior. I strongly suspect that at some point, businesses, I think it's going to land very bizarrely on businesses. I think that schools, senior schools, and businesses are going to be required to do some sort of kind of like public service kind of qualification thing, which says what is okay, what isn't okay, what would be acceptable, what wouldn't be acceptable. In like a handbook, but an actual course that you have to pass to say that you now know all these things, because I don't think we know them, and I don't think we are equipped to deal with the situations that, if you don't have the stoicism of someone like Annie, and you don't have the intelligence of someone like Cyrus, and you're not capable of doing Ben, which is, if you don't know, you put your head in a book or you look up Dr. Google. You know, Ben has a great mind. He's like, I don't know, I'll look it up. And I'm like, no, don't look it up, Ben. No, please, you don't need to know about the camel toe. You don't need to know. Okay, it was a story. He was 6, 7. He was doing something about how animals had evolved, and he was talking about how camels had evolved, and you know that their feet had evolved to cope with the hot sand, and you know that they've got this foot with like this just one toe, and then this sort of like stumpy bit, because it was, the weight was distributed so the heat didn't actually affect the pad. So he types in camel toe to look up. Next thing you know is we hear this scream. He's 7 years old. Oh, there's a lady on the telly with. I'm like, don't worry, we're coming, we're on our way. And like Charles and I are legging it in there, and there's some pictures that perhaps you wish, but don't look at it. Now, I mentioned it the other day, and he just was like scarlet. Like, if you ever mention that, here I am.
Paulette, how did that camel and the sand and the stuff scared Ben? How did that happen?
How did it?
How did the camel and the sand and stuff like that scare Ben?
It was when you type in camel toe. It's not.
I'm
what
joking.
You
I know that.
I
Yeah,
know.
don't
I
type
know
that
you
into
are,
your
but I'm just
computer.
making absolutely sure that the audience understood that too. You bugger.
Cyrus, yeah.
I know that he knew, but I just was making absolutely sure. The point is, right, I think that this book of teaching older teenagers, like we talked about consent, Cyrus, you know, there's so many things that needs to be taught at sort of senior school level, and then we come out of senior school and we go into the workplace, and I think it needs to be reiterated that these are the rules of the workplace, right? So now we're suddenly not creating a rule-based society, but we are, but not in a bad way, in a inclusive way, right? Everyone is included in this. Everybody does it, from managing director down to the janitor or whatever. Everybody does the job. Everybody does that, and therefore there is a very strong chance that we move forward. We evolve together. But at the moment, we are not doing that.
You know,
at this
Paulette,
moment in time, we're all over the place.
In 2026, my suggestion is to give women equity rather than equality. How would you feel about that? Some people are against it, and that divides rooms. Like, you know, if you sit in some rooms, you would be like Moses, like splitting the sea, right? So, you know, so I think because if you say like 50-50, like 50%, so whatever you give the boys, you should give the girls, and then, you know, it would be a little
That's
bit awkward if you
that's
gave
equality,
boys.
right?
Say again, sorry.
That's equality.
Yes, that's equality, but equality isn't always applicable, because I could go to like it is a teeny tiny bit stupid if I give if I treat boys exactly like girls, because I don't think it will be received well if I like donated to a all boys schools I don't know tampon program, right? So whatever they call it, right? So equality, right, is not the kind of tea, you know, you should be serving everyone 50-50, if that makes sense. How's that for clarity? That's my favorite tea. Clarity.
Clarity. Very good. I think
Hold on. Before you know, let's welcome Carrie. Carrie is wondering whether we're live. I'm like, Carrie, of course we're live. We're still here, right? You know,
we're
I'm glad
still
you
here,
streamed one.
Carrie. You know, the
Hi.
other thing that you just said that struck a chord with me was when you talk about how things have moved on, right? I did a speech about, it's got to be getting on 30 years ago now, in front of a room of 2,500 people, and they were all senior business leaders, from director level to senior business level. And I was representing a deco at the time. I was consulting for a deco, and they asked me to go and make the speech. So I did. And I stood there, and as you would expect, I'm going to poke the bear, because that's what I'm very good at. I'm like almost employed for it. So there I am, and I say, I just would like to ask, you know, hands up. How many people in the room have got female senior managers? Oh, their hands were up in the air. They loved it. How many people have got people on their board of directors that are female? Leave your hands up, please. Guys, please leave your hands up. Guys, you've all put your hands down. And I made this big song and dance, right? You know, I cannot believe that every hand's gone, and one of you must have, you know. And then I looked across at the Adecco CEO, and I said, we have, don't we? And she put her hand up, and I was like, you know, like this, and absolutely like roasted the whole room. And then afterwards, we went to, I was the speech before we went for lunch. And I was like, oh, they're going to come for me, right? And boy, did they. They practically chased me to the loo, and they chased me back again. And they all wanted to let me know that things were changing and things were moving, and we were moving forward, and things were, and I'd love to have been in that room again today, 35, 32 years on, and ask the same question. And then we'd know how far we've moved on. And do you know what? I bet we'd be looking at 5%, maybe 10, if we're lucky. So, you know what? Things take a long time to push water up a hill. All right?
Yeah.
And so when we talk about change, and when we talk about all of this, whether we're talking about misogynistic behavior or this negative behavior that's coming out from men, whether we're talking about these women that are trying to like catfish men, and women that are acting completely out of character, or women that are doing, you know, heinous things to men or whatever, or women that are just being mistreated, women that are just being wronged. And then you've got all this sexual stuff that we talked about as well, like people's faces being put on nudes and whatever. You know, there's so much going on that's wrong. There's like, where do you start to fix it? Really, where do you start? And I think we have to go back to saying, let's kind of like miss the current generation, go back to schools, start pushing this messaging out in schools and saying to schools, look, this is the kind of behavior we expect from you, our students, right? Misogynistic behavior is unacceptable. This doing films of people is unacceptable. Doing this is wrong. The same as fraud is wrong. The same as this is wrong. As cyber fraud is wrong, and everything else is wrong. Likewise, we need to change the perspective of the kids, because I don't think we can change the perspective of the parents because we've lost them. I think they're like the lost generation. And then you've got the next generation up, which is Annie's generation, which are like, yeah, man, I'm stoic. Yeah, I'm cool. Like Mr. Stoic in the corner.
I'm
like,
just not bothered by anything unless it affects me and unless you're
and I
paying
love
me.
it. I love it. But I'm
Yeah.
equally worried you weren't worried about me and my pornography. But anyway, we need to Annie. It's 10 o'clock. We've been talking for hours.
We do need to go. Look, and part of me thinks that we do PHSE in school, right? And it's not good enough, you know, because now, as Sarah mentioned, it's not the government to tell us necessarily. I think a lot of this is, you know, it's a mindset thing. You know, it's the way we think, the way we be. You know, I think that we have to know, and the mindset, I'm sure now, as you two know, I'm sure those in the audience know too, it's everything. You know, it's how we think, how we feel, how we deal with the world, right? I think we need to, we'll benefit from approaching the world from a place of decency, and then taking what others do not as a personal attack, but as their way of being. We don't have to respond to everyone. We don't have to, you know, get angry at everyone. We don't have to get anxious at everyone. Like, we can just let people be. You know, the world goes round. The world goes round. The world's going to carry on going round. I'm going to stop it, right? You know, whether you choose to get upset, you know, and ruin your mental well-being because you choose to have, you know, because you have anxiety about certain situations. You know, you work out what's the right thing for you to do. That's what the world calls on you to do. You see, you know, I would go with you on the lost generation, but I don't. You know, I tell you why. You know, we're not the problem, and that's what they will say. We all say that, right? I'm saying it because we all do. The problem is Gen Zs, the young ones today, the teenagers and the 20-year-olds today. They're the ones who got a problem. They do because now, and they'll put their hand up, they'll throw their hands up, going, it's because we grew up in the internet age. The age of freedom becomes your prison. Imagine that, and that's where we are.
The same thing was said about you when you were a teenager, right?
No, it really
That's
was.
a generational thing.
It really was. You see, we have a Gen Alpha starting now, right? Coming next. Yeah, so we've done Gen Zs, Paul. That looks a surprise. And then Gen Alpha comes next. Right? And Gen Alpha are going to be more like us, old fogies. Imagine that. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
They're not, because they've already become. By the age of 7 years old, you've already become, and they have become a social media addict by the time they're 7 years old. And therefore, the damage is already done.
But they've seen what happened to the Gen Zs and the millennials, and they realize
that's choice, isn't it? Like you said, personal choice, whether they choose to try and change. But I feel like it's a collective. It's the parents, it's the schools, it's the communities, the churches, the grandparents. Everyone's got to have a hand in fixing this, because our humanity is I was going to say a very bad word, but I stopped myself.
The so F. That's all right then.
It rhymed with rugged.
Okay. Yeah, that one. Okay.
No,
we'll do that.
the next, this just new gen call it cooked. That's the word you're looking for. Now, I was gonna also add, as a woman in 2026, right? You need to remember, everything's become so samey, right? That being different will become a positive thing, right? Something that people will be seeking, right? So, because, so just to give you an example, this is how clever branding works, right? So, if everyone's camera is removing their lines from their faces, right? If you deactivate that capability from your camera, and you look more like your natural self, and refuse to do makeup in front of the camera, you will be the person who's different. And one of the things that in branding rules the branding world, and it's like it's one of the conventions in branding, different sells. So if you want to be remembered, you need to be memorable in some way, right? If the color of your lipstick is same as everybody else's, and every other person who wears lipstick, that means you are just a face in the crowd. But if you choose different color, you will be the person who wears a different color, and then that's how people will remember you. Even though that is such a superficial thing to be remembered by, we're talking about being different, being your authentic self. So the best thing for a woman in 2026, I would say, and 2027, and 2028, and all the years to come, would be different. How are you going to be different? Just be yourself.
Yeah.
Because not many people will do that, and that's how you will stand out.
Yeah, I know. And it's, only you. That's taken by you. I said no one else can copy you. They can't be you, can they? Let me welcome Mr. William, the hardest working man online these days. Yeah, yes, William, you were just in a show with Paulette and me the other day. Paulette and I? English. Me and Paulette. It sounds much better to English people, amazingly.
It was a PG. Right? It was a PG.
Yes, today was a bit X-rated. My friends, I don't want to keep you any longer. I will thank you all for spending time with us, of course. We need to go, Paulette. 3 hours in. We need to go. I need to go and decorate. I need to eat first as well, so I can actually get home.
Great conversation, guys. As always, keep it coming. We're going to get this fixed somehow. Yes.
I'm on stage, William, but I know you're on stage every day. If you haven't been to UBU Live, I think that's on Sundays. No, it's all day, every day with William, right? He also has his wind down show at 4 a.m, 3 a.m, 2 a.m. Yes, if you're bored, it's not if you're bored. It's an interesting way to spend your night. And I think an hour, William, before you wind down, it's always a good thing, right? It's Paulette. I think it's a very important conversation. I think we are equipping the next generation, to develop mental wellness. It's a good thing. I think everything starts with a conversation. Let's have a conversation. Even if we can learn anything, then we'll take it, right? William says bye, everyone. I say no. Thank you so much, everyone. Look, if you haven't
Thanks, Cyrus. Bye, everyone.
Cyrus, you're a star. Marsha.
Thanks, Annie.
It was a pleasure.
As always.
Patricia, especially. You're the star of my show. Marsha says bye, everyone.
Bye, Martha.
I had to go. Thank you for your wonderful presence. Something I'm learning about self-regulation. It's a must for health, peace, and happiness. it really is self-regulation, and they say that's the key right there, right? And they say, God, that's biology.
Emotional intelligence. There it is.
Yes. Thank you so much, everyone. Look, connect with Paulette. The Jack and Water book. The link is in the comments. If you haven't bought it yet, then do go and buy the books. There's 3 of them, as Sarah just showed you. A bit concerned that didn't have Charlotte's name on the cover. Hopefully, she won't mind, Paulette. They're really cool author. Paulette's books, right? Now, Paulette, thank you so much. Look, we're back again soon enough, right? We've got to know. You and I will talk.
Yeah, absolutely. Tomorrow with Lisa.
Is it tomorrow?
Yeah, I think so.
I'm not sure. She hasn't sent me the content yet.
Or maybe it's next week then.
Yeah, it's next week. I think we missed a week. This is a week that's not meant to be.
Right. This is the week that was not meant to be. Okay,
Yeah.
fine. So we'll see you. I'll see you around. Anyway.
Yeah, of course you will.
You're never far away from me. You
no,
can't
Paulette.
escape.
You know where I live. I know where you live too. Thank you, everyone.
Take care, everyone.
Let's end the Jack and Water video, shall we? That's a short one. Okay, let's go for it. Here goes. So bye, everyone. Bye, everyone.
Walter, #1 bestseller worldwide. Stories that inspire, becoming every child's guide. She teaches resilience, skill by skill, slowing worries down until they're still. Approaching issues with a stronger mind, building generations one heart at a time. When the storm clouds gather and you don't know what to do, take a deep breath, clear your mind, let the answer come to you. Walter's gonna be there in your present and your future too. So just stop and ask yourself, what would Walter do? What would Walter do? What would Walter do? What would Walter do? Not for profit, but for every child's right to handle smaller challenges, to stand and fight. The bigger stuff takes longer, that's okay, but confidence begins with what we do today. Trustworthy souls and integrity shine at Mental Wellness Cafe. She draws the line between drowning in the darkness and finding light. She lifts them up, teaches them to hold on tight. When the storm clouds gather and you don't know what to do, take a deep breath, clear your mind, let the answer come to you. Walter's gonna be there in your present and your future too. So just stop and ask yourself, what would Walter do? What would Walter do? To clear your mind, give yourself headspace to think before you let the pressure make your spirit sink. Self-belief and talking to someone you trust, these are the tools that lift us from the dust. She champions the dignity of growing strong. Every child capable, they belong all along. Generations rising with the strength she's built. Paulette's legacy, a world without guilt. From Huntington to hearts across the globe, her compassion is the thread that she has woven and sewed. Adults and children, all walks of life, she's extending her